Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the Lucky Hit
Alright.
podcast. Welcome.
Welcome.
This is episode 73 on the 1st of June 2020. And not only is this the 73rd podcast, this is the 600th video on our channel.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Yep. And
Not bad.
the first podcast we did this year was the 550th. So we've done 50 videos since we started doing these podcasts again.
We've been busy.
Very
We
busy.
have a lot of time on our hands.
Definitely. Yeah. We put out about 11 videos this week.
Hey.
Very
Why
busy.
am I saying we? I'm not involved in any of these videos besides the podcasts.
Oh, most of us then. So, yeah, welcome to the Lucky Hit podcast. Hooray. I never know how to introduce these things. I'm doing what
You sound
Tom
very
used to do.
excited about a podcast that you run.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's nice that we're doing these weekly. Actually, I like that we're back in the swing of things.
I miss the weekly routine that we had.
Yeah,
remember,
many years ago.
Yeah.
Just for
And it's
context,
great.
back when we did the weekly thing originally, we had to do a lot of travelling, didn't we?
Yes, exactly. It was
Like each we alternated, didn't we? We did some at Flat the Younger's place, and then we did some at the guy that we used to have. Bennett's place. And we used to go. We used to go between them, and yeah, like they were at least sort of 5-6 miles out of the way each time. So,
yeah.
yeah.
It was.
So
And
now
we
have the power of the
still.
internet.
Yeah, that makes all the difference. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had the power of the internet for years. We just didn't get around to using the power of the internet until now.
True.
It's
very
kind of
true.
funny. It's kind of funny how easily you forget everything you can do on the internet.
Exactly.
Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of times I want to learn about something and I never think to just Google it.
Yeah.
Yeah, too right.
Shall we introduce ourselves?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I'm the Gagaman.
I'm Cherry Terrier.
I'm Murry Curry. Sorry.
I was about to say, Rick, where's Rick?
Where's your gamer?
Yeah, unfortunately, you couldn't make it tonight, so we're down one person.
Kinda
Hunk
throws
Thunder is here.
everything off.
Yeah, we also have.
Hunk Thunder.
And your boy, Elk.
It's your boy.
boy.
It's your boy.
It's in the building. Yep.
On a quick serious note, how are things with you, Elk? Because I know things are going pretty crazy right now in the States. Are you alright?
Yeah, I'm alright. In my case, I live in an area that's very a country area that's very quiet and calm.
Okay.
I'm not expecting it to be that way forever, but I'm supporting people as much as I can. I'm not.
That's good to
about
hear.
all I'm going to talk about, though. I don't want to bog this podcast down too much.
Oh no,
You'll know
no,
what
no.
I'm
I just
talking
wanted,
about.
Just wanted
just
to,
wanted to check in.
yeah, wanted to make sure
Yeah,
you're all safe
yeah.
and that.
Because obviously we do hear about what's going on. Not as much coverage over here, but yeah, we do hear what's going on. It's pretty scary stuff at the moment.
I mean, you guys have gone through scary stuff before.
Yeah.
Remember, like, decades ago, there was a big bombing in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I mean,
that.
Yeah,
To be honest with you, that's a semi-ongoing thing still. It's pretty
I
scary.
know. Yeah.
It's particularly scary because I have a partner who commutes into London and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's pretty scary. Anyway, let's.
No,
The whole damn world's gone topsy-turvy.
It really has.
It
Yeah.
really has, yeah.
And I used to live in like an area in London myself, so
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah, and I had pen pals who lived in London at the time, so I was really worried for them. They were both safe though.
Yeah.
But,
That's good to hear.
Hopefully this podcast can ease everybody's mind, if only momentarily. We'll do our
Yeah,
best.
just give you a little bit of escapism for a couple hours of us just
All
talking
the
about
recent-
the games,
yeah.
I guess.
All the recent podcasts and streams have done a very good job of keeping me sane.
Same here.
Yeah.
And let me know which day's Monday at least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's giving me a bit of a schedule that I otherwise was like, what day is it? I don't know what day it is. At least now I've got the podcast as like, oh, here's the start of the week.
Yeah, a bit like there's a video that was sort of knocking around on Twitter that best describes how we feel about the days of the week.
Yeah, they're just all
that play
kind of-
school one.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of videos like that on Twitter.
Like,
My favorite is the one where someone shows up at one of the podcasts dressed like Batman. He looked completely badass. Except for the fact that Batman usually shows up at night, and it was daytime in the video, but...
Oh dear.
I always thought he used to climb up towers, but alright.
Right, so
okay.
getting that stuff out of the way, it's a horrible world out there, but at least we still have video games to keep our minds off things, I believe. I
Yes.
guess. So, like, I guess
Right,
we
right.
should talk about what we've been playing for the last week, I guess. I don't know who wants to
I
go
want to
first.
go first.
Oh.
I want to go first.
Go for it. You're very excited.
I really
for
want to
it.
gush about. I really want to gush about Phantasy Star Online too.
Oh,
and
yes.
TurboGrafx 16 Mini.
Ooh.
I've been waiting for these things forever,
Right.
and they were both so much worth the wait. Holy crap! You have no idea.
Brilliant.
Oh,
that's
excellent.
really good to hear. Good,
Well,
you
maybe
sound very
would
giddy.
know-
I've been
Maybe you would
intrigued
know
with
about the
PSO.
TurboGrafx 16 Mini, but unfortunately, it's going to be a while before PSO2 is available to play in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
But
Unless
just
we change
because,
regions.
I think
Yeah.
there
Sorry,
are.
what?
Sorry?
Well, anyway, yeah.
Where did he go?
It's been a while. It's been out for a while for Xbox One, but just last week, the PC version was finally made available.
Mm-hmm.
And just to warn you right now, when the game is available, you're going to assuming you download it from the Windows Store, which is the only way to get it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be on Steam later, and I don't know if it's going to be different then, but when you download it, you're going to the download is actually kind of quick. It's only about like 11 gigabytes. But then you got this
Only.
launcher, and when the launcher starts up, you start the game from there. It's going to have to download more and more patches before it'll finally let you play the game.
Sounds
Like-
normal.
About 10,
Yeah.
about
And I
10 years worth of patches, I presume.
Exactly. A whole decade's worth of patches.
Mm.
I mean, you get credit where credit is due. You get the entire game, everything that Phantasy Star Online 2 currently has to offer, all at once, right on launch day, which is
Wow.
That's cool.
a lot more than what most games like that are able to offer at launch.
Yeah.
Like you're going to spend a whole day downloading those patches. So when you get that launcher ready, just free up your whole day and then expect to start playing the
And
next day.
maybe my whole hard drive, because I don't think I physically have enough space on my PC to actually install the entire game.
Yeah, it's about 50 gigabytes when all is said and done.
Yeah, I'm not sure
Do you know what?
that would fit.
Elder Scrolls Online is probably worse than that. It's just ridiculous.
That's a much
shit,
more
mean,
modern
really?
game.
They actually had to make it was a whole new download. Like I had to basically re-download the whole game recently because they
Oof.
tried to make a more optimized launcher for it. So yeah, they were like, oh yeah, you're gonna make a new launcher for it, download the whole thing again. It's still massive. It's like 90 gig or something like that.
Oh boy,
Oof.
90 gigs.
It's ridiculous.
Games are getting way too big.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, it's like I remember when Wolfenstein, the new Wolfenstein, I forget.
Oh
the
yes,
subtitle.
the co-op one.
That game took up
Youngblood.
like 40. No, not that one. The first one.
Okay, yeah,
I know I'm
Blood.
not making
A
sense. I'm
Wolfenstein.
really trying here.
that's fine.
I think
Yeah.
I think it was just called Wolfenstein 3D, wasn't it?
Basically,
No, just-
it's to Wolfenstein what Doom 2016 ended up being for Doom. That's the.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why don't you just Google it, Elk? But anyway, that Wolfenstein game that took up like 40 gigabytes, and that's a single player game.
I
That's
remember.
Wow.
Speaking of Doom 2016, they did a free weekend for it on Steam a while back, and I was like, oh, I'll grab that. But then it was, the single player's like 20 gig or 10 gig or something like that. But then the multiplayer, which I couldn't download separately, was about 70 gig, and I literally had no room for it. So I couldn't play it. It was like, oh, it's free for the weekend. I'll try it out, but I can't because it's too big.
Ironic that the least played part of Doom 2016 is the one that takes up the most space on your hard drive.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like they're trying to guilt trip you into playing it. Oh, it's using up all this space. I may as well give it a fair shot.
Yeah, even though you go on there and no one's playing it.
Yeah, but at least with Phantasy Star Online 2, or even something like the Elder Scrolls Online, that's kind of the whole point of the game. And speaking of Phantasy Star Online 2, of course, yeah, if you're really familiar with the old games, I'm sure you're gonna be well at home with this, especially if you played like Phantasy Star Universe or anything like that.
Yeah, I did. I loved it.
Because it does take a lot of stuff from the Phantasy Star Universe series.
Oh, okay.
Huh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, and I've never really played Universe, but I have played Phantasy Star Portable 2, which is also really good.
The PSP one.
The thing
Yeah,
about
on the
Universe
PSP.
was the story was horrendous, but the game was fantastic. That's Universe in a nutshell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but on the
definitely.
other hand, I'm sure it might be better than the story in Phantasy Star Online 2, which also does have a story mode. But
Wow, I'm surprised actually.
yeah, it does. You don't really have to play through it, I guess. I'm sure there's some benefit to it. But most of the story mode, as far as I've experienced, it's all just cutscenes. You take on a quest where you meet up a character. The character tells you about some silly thing, and then that's it. The quest is over.
It's not
enough.
trying to get shortbread to a dog, is it?
What?
Oh no, that's something that happens in it's like a side quest in Phantasy Star 4.
Oh yeah.
And that
Oh,
that in itself was like a nod to the bit in the very first game where you go down some dungeon to get a shortcake for a governor. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's funny.
As you do.
Yep.
Well, so far, I'm still on episode 1, of course. The story's separated in episodes, kind of like the original Phantasy Star Online. And pretty much everything I've gone to so far, I've just met up with a character. There's one where I thought it was going to be a mission. You meet up with a guy in the shopping area, and he's like, "Oh man, I lost. I'm the assistant to this doctor. I lost track of her. She went off on her own to study these dangerous monsters. I'm really worried about her. Please, can you go find her?" Then you go to that quest, and you're standing right in front of her in the volcanic area, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I've been studying these dangerous monsters here. Oh, my assistant told you to look for me. I'm sorry, he's been bothering you. He's kind of a worrywart."
So it just spawns you to where she is. You don't actually have to look for her.
Yeah, they just they just talk.
Right.
Okie dokie.
So it's like a fetch quest without the fetching, which actually doesn't sound that bad when you think about it.
Yeah, of course, there's a lot more to Phantasy Star Online too than just that. There's
so
a ton
much.
of missions, a ton of quests to play, and the gameplay is amazingly solid. They did an excellent job with the action, considering this is supposed to be an online game. There's a lot you have to go through. Again, this takes after Phantasy Star Universe because you switch through multiple weapons at a time. You have several different photon arts that you have to learn by finding discs. Again, that's like Phantasy Star Universe. And Portable 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of combos you have to go through, a lot of offensive and defensive options. So it's a lot to think about. So I really do recommend that you go through the practice quests for your particular class when you play this game, because you're going to want to know these things.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to dedicate yourself to a specific kind of character if they're not going to suit your playstyle, I suppose.
Exactly. And each class, again, like the past games, they can only use certain weapons, so it's a lot to keep track of. So my first character, for example, is just a human hunter because I wanted to keep things basic starting out.
Humor.
The hunt, yeah. But there's a lot of classes to go through. I guess since the launch in Japan, they added a summoner class where you have pets do all the fighting for you. That's in the game too.
Pokemon mode.
Yeah, Pokemon essentially.
That's pretty typical of an MMO, isn't it?
Yeah.
That class. Yeah.
You also have all the races from the original, along with a new race called Doomins, which kind of sounds like Dune and Newt from Appleseed.
Oh god, yeah, it does.
They're basically another variation on the Newmans, the elf-like race.
Oh yeah.
They look the same, except they have a horn on their head.
Okay.
There's a practical difference to them, but I don't remember what it is.
There was a beast class in Universe, wasn't there? I can't remember what they were called.
There was a beast class in the Universe series, which is also in Portable 2. That's not in Phantasy Star Online 2.
Oh, okay.
Sure
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised too. I was like, wait a minute, there's something missing here that I remember from Portable 2.
I wanted to try the Portable games. They look really fun.
Yeah, and then play Portable 2. That one's excellent.
Okay. What was the DS one as well?
Zero.
Yeah, Phantasy Star Zero. That
was
one's
that any good?
A little. Yeah, that one was great too. Of course, you can't play it online anymore. You probably can't play Portable 2 online anymore either.
No, true.
But I think one of my favorite parts about Online 2 so far is occasionally you have urgent quests that pop up now and then.
Oh yeah.
Where you have to defend a base or a ship from a bunch of monsters. So like the last one I played, there's a big ship that's under attack from a giant monster called Dark Falls.
Oh yeah.
Which might sound familiar if you're a fan of the original Phantasy Star.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Dark Falls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So cool. Dark Falls splits himself up into several arms that attack different ships at once, which is how they can conceptualize multiple players fighting the same quest all at once. So you have to fend off all those arms. Once all the arms are dealt with, people can go back in and fight the body of Dark Falls, and it's a big, massive brawl. It's cool.
So it's like is that like a raid boss?
Yeah, it's like a raid boss.
Yeah.
The only problem is if you wind up in a party that has several high-level players in it, the whole thing's over in like less than 5 seconds.
Yeah. Oof. They have a thing like that in ESO. It's these anchors. They're kind of like that game's version of the Oblivion gates. And yeah, it's the same thing. I try and run towards these things, and it's like basically just like 3 or 4 waves of high-level enemies. But yeah, you always get these high-level players that just wipe the floor, and you're like, oh, thanks, mate. Now I've got to wait.
You got nothing.
Now
you get nothing.
Wait for 20 minutes. Yeah. You got to just stand around like an idiot for 20 minutes.
Yeah. But of course, the nice thing about this in Phantasy Star Online 2 is that when the whole thing's over, all these rare items are dropped all over.
Yeah.
So even if you didn't get to do anything, you still get something out of it.
Yeah. Yes. And unlike the original Phantasy Star Online, when players pick up these items, they're still left there, so everyone has a chance to grab one. So you just stock So you just stock up on all these rare armor and weapon items.
Nice.
And then maybe you'll sell a couple, maybe you'll use a couple to enhance whatever gear you've got at the moment. It's a great, easy way to stock up.
Nice.
And then beyond that, there's a cafe where you can gather up materials that you find while fishing or mining in the action areas to cook up food for yourself, which gives you more buffs. There's a casino, which is surprisingly fun, even for me, and I'm not usually into gambling.
Okay, it's like they're just mini games, are they?
Yeah, they're mini games. Like
cool.
There's a blackjack game which has an interesting take on it. Not to mention a very cute little cat-like dealer. But yeah, there's a lot more stuff going on. I think I've rambled on enough about Phantasy Star Online 2. I'm
Yeah.
still playing it, so I'll probably have more to talk
I mean,
about next time.
it's literally more than a decade's worth of content to catch up on, isn't it? So it's got to be one of those things that you're just going to sink hundreds of hours into. I know people that have actually put thousands and thousands of hours into the Japanese version, and now they're sort of like finally playing it in official English as opposed to like this weird server that tries to translate the stuff in sort of, I think it was like an Asian English server, and it was kind of all in broken English.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know, but there's a lot of countries in Asia where a lot of people speak English, like Hong Kong, for example. You ever play Sleeping Dogs? You notice how a lot of people speak English in that game? That's exactly how it is in that's exactly how it actually is in Hong Kong. A lot of people talk English and Chinese. Kind of like in North America, where there's also a lot of people who speak Spanish.
Oh, yes.
Or French if you're in Canada.
Yeah.
And over here it's like all sorts, really.
Yeah, to some extent. We don't really have like a official second language here.
Not in England, UK, anyway. But, in like Wales, there's Welsh in Wales, and then in Ireland and Scotland is Gaelic. But yeah.
Ireland used to have its own language, but that kind of died out a few centuries ago, I think.
We still have it here.
I mean,
still here.
They still have it. Sure.
No, when you look at the road signs, it's got English and then it's got the Irish Gaelic as well.
Yeah, they even have like Gaelic versions of like BBC programs on iPlayer, don't they? They have that Gaelic version of Danger Mouse is amazing. It's called like Donny Mardo or something, and the singing on that version is hysterical. Like if you hear the theme tune, it's like Donny Mardo. It's really bizarre. Obviously, they can't excuse the language. The language is what it is. But the guy they got to dub over the song is amazing. It's just hilarious.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then anyway, I got the TurboGrafx 16 Mini last week.
Sweet.
Finally.
Nice.
Yeah, I've been playing that for a bit. It's really nice.
What games have you been playing most on it so far?
What I've been playing most on it so far was actually Lords of Thunder.
Oh, nice. Good pick.
And the reason I've been playing that mostly is because a lot of people have been complaining about that video. That game.
Really?
Not because it's a bad game. Everyone loves it. It's just people notice that the TurboGrafx 16 Mini or PC Engine Mini, it has some degree of input lag. And they say that it really hurts Lords of Thunder in particular. A lot of people said that game is completely unplayable because of it. And I would have to disagree, actually.
I guess it depends on whether you are playing it for the first time and just get used to it, or if you're like one of those people that religiously played it and now, like, as soon as there's a little bit of input lag, you notice the difference immediately. Because
Exactly.
If it's the first time you're playing it, then I suppose it's not as big of a deal. You just adjust to it.
Of course, I don't want to dispute that the TurboGrafx 16 Mini has any input lag in particular. It does. I've actually noticed it.
All the minis have.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of them. That's just the nature of the beast when it comes to emulation.
Exactly.
They can try to reduce it as much as they want, but with the way it works, there's always going to be some input lag. And like I've noticed it with Alien Crush on the TurboGrafx Mini in particular. That one is like almost half a second when you press the button before the flipper goes up.
Oof, that's not good for a pinball game.
Yeah. Of course, I got used to it, and I don't actually have a real TurboGrafx or a copy of Alien Crush, so I don't. It could just be that the lag is built into the game's code. I don't know. But in the case of Lords of Thunder, that game is not easy. I can see why input lag might hurt that game in particular. But the way it plays, you could still get through it just fine. I really struggled with that game, but I'm getting through it just fine. it's like a lot of the other shooters on that system. A lot of it depends on your ability to memorize levels
Yeah.
and enemy locations.
Hmm.
So it might take a while, but if you like the game, if you like playing it, you're going to figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
And you're going to figure out which armor you have to equip for each stage to get you through it most easily. Yeah, yeah. So on that note, it is perfectly okay to admit that you suck at a retro game.
Oh yeah.
Retro games.
Don't blame the lag.
Retro
Blame
games
yourself. Is that what you're saying?
Retro games have their reputation for being ball-bustingly difficult for a reason,
Yep.
and Lords of Thunder is no exception. You know, I have the same problem with a lot of other shooters on this system. I think the easiest one so far for me would have to be Seirei Senshi Spriggan.
Oh yeah, that's the Musha style one, isn't it? That's the one
That
that's
is
that's the
the,
compile list one. I think Rick was
yeah,
talking about it the other
It is
week.
very similar. It is made by Compile, yes. Very similar to what was it, Musha? You said?
Yeah, Musha List.
Alest. I guess the proper name would be Alest. Yeah, that's why I was confused.
Yeah.
But yeah, Musha's an Alest game. If you're familiar with how Musha works or any of those games, it's kind of similar with Spriggan. Except in this game, you pick up different colors and you can store up to 3 at a time. And depending on the combination, you get different firepower, and it's fun to experiment with.
Yeah,
And also-
I'm really looking forward to playing that one when I get one of these things eventually.
I think you're gonna love that game in particular. Trust me. Not to
Yeah.
mention, it's I also tried out the arcade perfect variants of the games that have them, as you would call them, and it's a lot more interesting than I thought it would be, because it's not like the arcade version of Gradius or Fantasy Zone, for example. You're still playing the original version of the game on the PC Engine. It's just they made adjustments to the audio, so it sounds more accurate to what it sounded like in the arcade.
Yeah,
And
they're basically better ports, aren't they? It's like M2 just like rolled up their sleeves and like, right, we can do better ports than they could back then.
Exactly. They were like, yeah, we understand the PC Engine's audio hardware better than the people who made these games originally. Somehow.
Yeah.
So we'll make it sound better.
Yeah, I think they
And
also
when
adjusted
you
some of
play
the
this
graphics
game-
as well. Like on Fantasy Zone, that looks a lot better. Like the colours are much more accurate.
Yeah, it's true. And like in my experience, I'm very used to the arcade versions of games like Fantasy Zone and Gradius, because I've been playing both of those games a lot on the Switch recently through the Konami Arcade Anniversary Collection and Sega Ages Fantasy Zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I picked up on how the audio, it still has this it sounds like the arcade, but it has the same tinniness that the PC Engine usually has in every one of its games. So it's just been really
The
interesting
same hardware, yeah.
Yeah, so like the way it works, that's why I say it's not exactly arcade perfect, because they did it in such a way where it's still very accurate to how the PC Engine hardware worked.
Yeah.
It's very accurate to its limitations.
That's what I love about M2. I love when M2 do stuff like this. It's like they don't have to go that extra mile, but they do every time.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
nice.
man, the extra mile.
I'm so glad to live in the world where we have those talented bastards working on retro games like this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like what they did to Monster World 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's a shame that they didn't translate most of the Japanese games in here, like they did with Monster World 4.
It would have been nice if they could have got the translation from the Mega CD version of Snatcher and somehow applied that to the PC Engine version, but I would imagine that's a lot of work.
It would have been nice if they did that, especially considering that the Mega CD version is apparently a port of the PC Engine version, to put it simply.
Yeah.
So like it's running off the code from the PC Engine original. It just like changes a few things. It uncensors a lot of scenes So like a lot of people don't know this about the PC Engine version, probably because they can't read Japanese and get through enough of the game to see it. A lot of the blood and gore is really toned down in the PC Engine version. They go all
is
out
it?
on Mega CD. It's incredibly gruesome.
I thought it was the other way round. Or am I mistaken? I thought the English Mega CD version was the censored one, but I guess I'm mistaken.
I mean, maybe it's different for the European release. I don't know. But I've played the North American version through emulation, of course. And yeah, it's very bloody. Not so much with the PC Engine version. It still looks kind of gruesome. It's just that they blacked out most of the blood. Mostly. But like, it would have been interesting if they just took the content added to the Mega CD version and added it to the PC Engine CD version. So you get the even if they can't get the uncensored visuals, they could just get the English.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Again, I don't know how easy or how difficult that would be.
Sounds like it would be a lot of work. But better solution, if M2 wants to make a Mega CD Mini and put Snatcher, the English version, on there, they can do that if they like.
Yes, please.
And you actually plug it in. Yeah, go on. Mega CD Mini, you know, about 5 people will buy it, but I will be one of those 5 people. So.
Don't tell me there's nothing on that system besides like Sonic CD and Night Trap. No, there's plenty of games they could put on there.
They could easily put like 20 games on there, easy.
Yeah, at least 20. They'll do it if they had to, especially if money convinces them. Which probably won't happen, but
yeah, they'll go back and go, hey, do you remember that thing that almost completely crippled our entire company? Yeah, let's make a new one of those. Or, you know, the start of our downfall, basically. Let's remind people of that. Let's make a 32X Mini.
The TurboGrafx 16 Mini essentially did that already.
Yeah, except the PC Engine was massive in Japan, so that's the reason it exists. Because it was huge in Japan. It was way more popular than Mega Drive.
Different story in Japan, sure. And I guess because of that, they pretty much only made the TurboGrafx 16 version just out of proxy.
Yeah,
like, we're doing this. We may as well just do a North American version.
Yeah,
that's probably also why they didn't change the game lineup aside from Salamander.
Okay. Anything you've been playing, or your highlights?
Yeah, I think that's about it.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's about it I want to talk about. Let's move on.
Yeah, okay. Who wants to go next?
Oh, I suppose I could. Yeah, it's not really been too busy a week for me. Practicing up on the Celeste for the stream yesterday, which went pretty damn well.
Yeah.
So chuffed with that. I was playing that for the last few days. So yeah, I was really chuffed. It just seems to be when I'm on stream, I seem to just play a lot better.
You need to stream more.
I need to stream more, yeah. Other than that, we've been cracking on with a little bit more of Yakuza 6, just mainly getting on with the story and that now. I think we're getting quite far. Usually those games tend to have about 12 chapters. We're on 8, so yeah, I think we're getting quite far.
Nice.
And once I finish 6, I'll be all caught up until 7 comes out on the English releases anyway, because we can't play the 2 PSP games, the 2 Samurai ones. I do have Dead Souls, which I borrowed off of Shelf Gamer. I need to get on with that as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that one's worth a playthrough too.
It's more fun than it looks. I actually did play a few chapters already, and it looks like the sort of thing that you sort of look at it and go, "Oh no, zombies! This is going to be awful." It's actually quite fun. It's very repetitive, but it is fun.
Maybe a little annoying getting around Kamurocho when you have to get through the zombie infested areas, but yeah. It is a blast. It's also kind of funny when you're exploring the non-zombie infested areas and nobody's trying to attack you because you're so used to that in every other Yakuza game.
Yeah.
So why would they
It does-
bother getting into fights when they're trying to not get eaten? Yeah, it's like, yeah,
It
I'm not
does
going to
make me
bother.
laugh. It does make me laugh as well how, like, when you get outside the gated off areas, because basically the way it works is the further into the story you get, the more of the city gets taken over, and like the army has cordoned off bits of the map. And I'm quite early in the game, so it's only like one little corner at the moment. And it's just funny how these massive walls are up, and everyone's just walking around like nothing's going on. It's just like, and then what's even funnier than that is you do these little missions to sort of like, what's the word? Like, you free up the businesses that were once, you like restaurants and stuff like that. You free them up, and then so they're in the middle of this zombie infested area, and you walk in, and it's just business as normal. Do you want a beef bowl? Yeah.
This all sounds very
Come on in.
familiar for some reason. I can't think why, but it's
a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, just getting some kind of collection of something going on, but I'm not really sure.
I mean, you could argue that America is going through something very similar like that right this minute.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, that's why the PS5 announcement's been pushed back, isn't it?
Yeah, I was gonna get into that.
Yeah,
That's my
but,
guess.
yeah.
I mean,
No,
we'll
I
talk about
actually
that
saw an
a little
update
later.
on it. They actually did say that right now more important voices need to be heard. So yeah, I mean
that's
that's
very
pretty cool.
good. That's very good of them, actually. That's incredibly sensible.
That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
that's I would have made that decision too, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Seems
I think
smart.
it's very respectable.
I mean, it helps that E3 is still canceled anyway, so it's
Yeah.
not like they have an excuse to rush.
No, they haven't got a deadline as such. They can do this whenever. It's not like it needs to be done this week
Yeah, that's right.
or even this month. You know.
So yeah, bit of that, bit more of ESO Blades. I'm sort of still at that almost the paywall part of the game where you're just trying to collect copper to improve your city. But I don't know, it feels like it is plodding along, but it is literally plodding along. You know, it's a
bit too
game that's
much.
made to encourage you to do little sort of bite-sized chunks of adventuring and then go away for like a day and then come back and do a bit more. It's not a game to grind through. It's not a game that you expect to. But I don't think it's a bad game. I think it's pretty fun so far. Other than that, there is something else I've been playing, but I'm already forgetting it. What else did I play? Oh, come on. What in Christ's name did I play?
Think.
It obviously left a real impression.
Is it another
Clearly.
Elder Scrolls game?
Not an Elder Scrolls. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. Had it in my mind this whole time.
You don't have a PC Engine Mini, do you?
No, I
Maybe it was
wish. No, I'm gonna have to move on.
Fair enough.
mainly been Celeste, Elder Scrolls Blades, and other than that, just logging on once a day on ESO for like 5 minutes.
Oh, come to think of it, you were also streaming some VR games, right?
That's true, yeah.
Versus the Universe and that Rick and Morty game.
That's right. Yeah, we've been doing those the last couple of weeks, but they've been quite sort of bite-sized little. Literally just on the stream, we've been doing those. But I haven't really been doing a lot of that outside. I did play a bit more of the virtual reality game because it's one of those games where I feel like it's good to vet it before I play it.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea, especially after that puzzle that you got stuck on for ages.
Yeah.
That was tedious. That was just awful.
You know,
I feel bad for you on that.
That was getting on my nerves.
I played that game at my cousin's house. I think it was last year, and I got stuck on that same puzzle too.
Oh, did you?
Eventually, I figured it out, but it took a long time.
It's not very clear, is it?
That and admittedly, I just got distracted because the game's already hilarious, and I just like farting around in it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing about VR. You can just have a lot of fun interacting with objects or just throwing stuff around. Really.
Yeah.
I don't know why the sensation of throwing stuff in VR is still not only hilarious to do, but hilarious to watch someone do. Just like throwing stuff. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It never gets old.
I spent so much time using that machine that merges two objects together.
Yeah, I should have done more of that.
I was merging objects with one of the cassette tapes. I was doing that forever. I was dying.
So you were making like meat cassettes and stuff like that.
No, what happens is you have a cassette with the other object as a subject, and so like
Oh, so what they
and
talk
so,
about it?
so like it has a
Ah.
pre-recorded message on it with a different voice. Usually it's Morty's voice, and he's like, "Hey, like let's say I use like what's something around here, a screwdriver." So the message goes, "Hey, I really like screwdriver."
Ah!
So it just inserts the word in. That's great.
Just gives it a Microsoft Sam voice.
When I see a screwdriver, I like to, toss it around.
I'm definitely trying that. When
You have to try it.
the Trover in the So's Universe stream. Probably had the cackling and all.
Yeah.
Oh god,
that
should
game has its moments, doesn't it?
Mm.
There were some odd moments in that stream. That was a slightly shorter stream for a couple of reasons, but one of the things I didn't mention, which I will mention now, was I've never had this happen before, but I did have it on that stream. I must have put the headset on really tight, and it was digging into the top of my left eye, and it was giving me a massive headache.
Oh jeez!
Oh, dear.
Oh no! Oh jeez, Rick!
Yeah.
I'm not surprised you ended as soon as you did. Not only because like the bitrate dropped for some reason, but yeah.
Yeah, that was really weird.
I'm surprised you didn't bring that up.
I don't. You might notice if you go back on it, like you'll see me sort of like you'll see the headset jog around a lot where I'm trying to readjust it to stop it from digging into me.
Ooh.
I've literally never had that happen. I've had a VR for like nearly 3 years now. I've never had that before. Really weird. I must have on that particular night just set it up really wrong. I don't know. It was weird. Yeah, it was that, and it also got to the point where it was about an hour and a half in, and I think it just the energy just kind of burned out on that one. But it's definitely one I want to come back to because I think it will have more moments, and because it doesn't involve motion controls, it's just you with the controller. It's a lot easier to play. I don't punch walls or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more forgiving for me and my very small house.
Yeah.
So yeah, other than that, that's why I didn't really mention those because they literally just been for the streams, really.
Yeah.
I know there's something else, and I'm going to kick myself as soon as I finish because I'm going to remember what it is. But there's another thing that I gave a little go at, and I can't. But I'm looking around now, trying to look at what it could have been. But I'll just forget it.
You can talk about it next week if you want.
Yeah. But one thing I'll say is I'm now satisfied with my run of Celeste, so I do want to carry on playing that game to get like some of the horrible challenges done.
Level 9.
Chapter
9.
Honestly, that chapter it's ridiculous. You need to be a speedrunner just to finish it. Never mind get a good time on it. Just some of the techniques in it. I mean, I was trying to show it off on the stream, but they're so advanced I couldn't even attempt to explain them. The only way I can describe it is just look up Chapter 9, Farewell, Celeste, and you'll see what I mean. It is so insane. It's got a reputation for just being one of the most ridiculously hard platform levels ever. I think I said it on the stream, but I've played platformers all my life, and I consider myself quite a good platform gamer. You know, I'm the sort of guy you can sit me down in front of a Mega Man game and I'll finish it. Castlevania, yep, no problem. But Celeste, Jesus. So that game humbled me big time. I recommend it because the base game is fantastic and it's got a very good sort of difficulty curve, and it'll be really, really satisfying. And if you want to push yourself, there's content in that game that will just humble you beyond belief.
Destroy you.
Yeah, so it's got everything. It's got a bit of everything. And the other thing about it as well is it's got that assist mode. So if you want to just sort of blast through
debug your way through it.
Yeah, you can do that, and it will let you have all the achievements as well. So that's pretty nice. Because my son, he's 6 years old. He likes to play it, but obviously, at 6 years old, you got no chance.
Yeah, so that mode's handy just for him to play around in it.
Yeah, he's got a whole file where he just goes nuts.
Nice.
Was it like Sandbox or something?
Almost,
It's
yeah.
basically like debug mode. It's not even God
Hmm.
mode. It's debug mode because you just cannot die.
That's pretty much what I used to do in the Sonic games. I spent more time messing around in debug mode than I did actually in it, and that was when I was about 8, I suppose. So yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where I was just messing around and putting things
That's
everywhere.
That's
Yeah.
how I beat Sonic 2 when I was like 10 years old.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week, and a game I can't remember, which left
Fair.
such an impression on me.
Clearly.
Castlevania Anniversary Collection. That was it.
There we go.
What was
For
it?
Christ's sake, the Castlevania Anniversary.
Oh, it's
Castlevania.
only Castlevania. Totally forgettable.
Unbelievable. Yeah,
as soon as you said you were done, you remembered just as you said.
Well, you know what? When I have yet to actually play Castlevania Rondo of Blood on my TurboGrafx 16-minute.
Oh man, that's such a good game. I grabbed that last
sure it
year
is.
when they did that
Sure it is.
PS4 collection. They did that in Symphony, which is basically just the stuff on the PSP game minus the PSP remake, which would have been really cool because I
I'm
liked that
surprised-
remake. But
Because I've heard good things about that remake.
yeah, it was great. It was really good. You know, it was a very serviceable 3D sort of port of a game. Yeah, there was nothing really bad about it. All they did was they took the version of Symphony of the Night where they sort of added a few extra bits. It wasn't. I don't know why they added like things like they making Maria a playable character again and all that. Why didn't they just go full blown and just add these Sega Saturn stuff? It could have been the ultimate version because they could have had the content of the Sega Saturn without the Sega Saturn's performance.
Well, I
You
mean,
know, the loading screens every time you press start and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
well, I'm not familiar with how that game's made, but if they're just emulating the original game, or at least the PSP version of the original game, unless the PSP version had that stuff in it too, I don't know.
That's the thing. They added stuff, so they had the ability to add stuff, but they didn't do it properly. Because the funny thing about the Sega Saturn version, I won't go on about it too much, but the funny thing about it is, it's the Sega Saturn and it's a 2D game. The Sega Saturn could have absolutely done a fantastic job of Symphony of the Night, but Konami just did a really bad job of porting it. Imagine how good it would have been if it was actually used to the Sega Saturn's full potential. I mean, it's a 2D powerhouse. I know it has a few 3D effects in the background, but it wasn't anything too crazy. The Sega Saturn could have done it.
Oh,
I watched a Digital Foundry video on it years ago, and they said, they said the same thing. Like the Sega Saturn is capable of doing it, but they just messed it up.
Yeah, it was just a sloppy port of the PlayStation version. It was made for the PlayStation and then ported over to the Saturn quickly.
I know. I mean, what a wasted potential.
Sometimes developers do a crappy job of optimizing a game for a certain platform, even if that platform should be able to handle it no problem.
Yeah,
the same thing happened with a lot of other games, like Donkey Kong 64. The only reason it needed the expansion pack was because the game was designed by a younger team at Rare who weren't entirely familiar with optimizing games for Nintendo 64, and so they just needed that in order to get around a game-breaking series of game-breaking glitches they couldn't fix.
Yeah.
Like Conker's Bad Fur Day was an even more advanced N64 game, and that game didn't need the expansion pack at all.
That's why they bundled the expansion pack with Donkey Kong 64, because otherwise the game wouldn't work, or rather it would have that game-breaking glitch. So Nintendo lost a lot of money selling that game because of that. They were basically they were obligated to bundle it with the game, because what could they do?
Oh, geez.
That's how I got my expansion pack. My parents.
I think that's how most people got it. Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, I mean, the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, for those who don't know, it just does what it says on the tin. It's got like a lot of the early Castlevania games. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, Kid Dracula, which is really nice because
That's translated as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't actually think we got that before, did we?
I don't think we did. No.
No, that's what I was playing. I was having a go at that because I've pretty much done all the other games. Oh yeah, it's got the Mega Drive game as well.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Bloodlines or New Generation for Europe, I think.
It's got 3 names because it's Vampire Killer in Japan as well.
weird.
And yeah, Kid Dracula's a lot of fun. That it kind of it's funny because it looks like it's a sort of more kid-friendly Castlevania game, but no, the level designs are still cruel.
Now here's one
It's
for
Castlevania.
kids, but it's not really. It looks like it's for kids, but it's actually just as hard.
Oh,
And
hey,
it's-
I'm sure
It was a
there's
funny
a lot
little.
of
Sorry, go on.
complaining about. Sorry, I'm sure there's a lot of kids who played Lords of Thunder back when it was new who are complaining about the way it runs on the TurboGrafx 16 Mini.
And
I
yeah, it's
figured
funny.
this game out back then. Why can't I do it now?
It's a funny little story about why I started playing that actually, because I had the Switch on because I was just doing a little bit of Blades, and I went off and did some washing up, and I just thought, oh yeah, I know what I'll do. I'll set up the the Switch on the kickstand, and in between bouts of washing up, I turn around and do a little bit of Castlevania. Just had it set up right next to the sink.
I mean, I put my Switch by the sink, sort of like above the sink on like the counter, while I'm watching like YouTube stuff while I'm doing the dishes. But I don't tend to play games while doing the dishes.
Yeah, it took about 5 times longer to wash the dishes. This will be the last thing.
Play the game, I presume.
Yeah, this will be the last thing I mentioned. But I didn't know before that the Japanese version of Castlevania had an easy mode.
Oh, the Famicom one.
Yeah, that's right.
Ah.
Because what's great about the Anniversary Collection is you can go on to like a little bonus mode where it plays the Japanese version. So as most people might know, the Japanese version of Castlevania 3 is like 10 times better than any other. For starters, they didn't ramp the difficulty up outside of Japan for no reason. Just so we don't like people finishing our games. And also, it's got that incredible FM chip, and the music just sounds incredible.
Oh
really
yes, of course.
Drums sound really nice. And yeah, so I just decided, I fancy the first game. And yeah, I just noticed on the main menu it had an easy option. So I tried it out, and it's really easy.
Maybe that's where I should start, because I'm terrible at these games.
Definitely give that one a go, because it's just fun to just really quickly destroy Castlevania. Because, like, for instance, all the things that make Castlevania famous for being Castlevania was like, you don't get knocked back when you get hit, which is
really?
That's like the 99% cause of death in that game.
Yep.
An enemy hits you and you go and fall off a platform and die. That's literally how like every death in the game pretty much goes.
Yeah.
So what happens is you just sort of freeze for a second. You do a little noise, and then he just sort of carries on. Even if you're a mid jump, he just carries on with that trajectory. He just freezes for a second. He goes, "Nah, you're all right."
Wow.
So that's cool. You start with 30 hearts instead of like 5. And the weirdest thing ever is you get to keep your sub item and your multiplier. Like when you pick up like a cross, you get like a bonus 2 or 3, so you can throw loads of them.
Wow, yeah.
You get to keep that on death. You also start with 9 hearts, and all the bosses go down in like half as many hits. So it's just the easiest version of this like otherwise horrendously difficult game. So yeah, it was really cool that they added that. I didn't even know about that. I thought
either.
No, I thought I was quite clued up on Castlevania, but apparently not. And the only thing about that collection is for some reason it doesn't have the Japanese version of 2, which is a shame because I seem to remember the Famicom version had like a save feature. I think
it was a disc system game, I believe.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So it's really weird.
Was a disc system game. So was the first Castlevania.
Yeah, I heard that. So that's strange that they didn't put that on when all the other, like every other game in that collection has the Japanese version. Very, very strange. I don't know why they did that. But it's probably the one with the most help because it's actually more of an RPG, so it would be nice to have a save feature. Obviously, you got save states on these collections, so there's that.
Yeah, I suppose.
But I just thought that was a weird omission. But yeah, other than that, it's a great little collection, and I loved the fact that you can play the Japanese version of Castlevania 3, which is the best way to play that game.
Yeah.
It's actually possible to beat it, and it has an incredible soundtrack. Like it's already got a good soundtrack, and that FM chip just adds to it so much.
Nice.
So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week, and it's been very good.
I'm
going to take a break from practicing sort of nippy runs now.
Might be a good idea, yeah.
Yeah. Start trying to slow down and enjoy more games now.
Yeah.
including Celeste, because there's lots more to do on that. Pardon me.
Does Hunk,
Excellent.
does Hunk Thunder want to go next? Hunk Thunder?
Yeah, can do.
Two.
Well, we saw my NES Thunder Part 2 last week.
Sure did.
Yeah.
I did see it. Yeah.
So had some fun with those games there, especially Pound Dupont. It's been like a few years since I actually played that, and yeah, Gagaman completely kicked my ass for that one. What else?
I've been practicing.
Yeah.
Well, playing it for quite a majority of last week, so that kind of helped, I suppose.
Yeah. What else? Obviously, Animal Crossing still, and because today was being the first of the month, there's a whole load of bits and pieces that had appeared in the game, i.e., like new fish, bugs, and events happening throughout the month.
Oh, okay.
Today.
Do they do that at the start of every month then?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
There's some bugs that go. I say bugs, actual bug.
Yeah,
insect.
not game bugs.
Yeah, I wish they would go away, but but yeah, yeah. So some go at the end of the month, and then you get new ones in.
Oh, so it's like rotation.
Yeah, it sort of spices up the game a bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To keep it going.
Keeps you coming back. That's how they get you.
I did get a whole load of games for my Switch, like a whole load of downloads this week, because being sales and all. I got What the Golf.
Oh, cool. I was curious about that one. That looks daft.
It is really, really fun. For those who haven't seen like advertising for it yet, basically you play golf, but not with golf balls. It could be anything. It could be a golf ball. It could be a person. Could be the actual power meter.
I've seen that.
Yep.
Every level is different, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is hard to explain how much you can like use as a golf ball, as it were.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is really, really fun. It's definitely worth picking up.
One of those games that's better not to look at and just play it blindly, because then you're not spoiled on all the weird gags that can happen. I think it's like if you watch someone streaming that, you've pretty much seen everything it does. So it's one of those like comedy games, isn't it? Where like you really need to just play it yourself without really knowing anything about it, because then it's more surprising.
Yeah, we need to do that with Untitled Goose Game.
Yep.
Which, speaking of Entitled Goose Game, something similar to that happened to us in real life today.
I think we actually met the Untitled Goose today.
Yeah, he was not a very nice. He was not very nice.
I don't know. I thought he was all right, but yeah, he was chasing you around for a bit.
Wait a minute. Is this that video that you uploaded to Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that happened today. That was CherryT and my mother being chased around by what essentially looks like it's something.
I didn't see this.
You have to check it out.
I didn't even realize that was Cherry Terrier.
You can probably hear us going, "Oh, it's Untitled Goose."
Well.
More or less.
Oh, and I was like, "Oh Lord, you're coming!"
Yeah, the way he came running towards us, he was. Oh Lord. Anyway, Hunk Thunder, continue.
Yep, I shall. I've got Clock Simulator.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah,
I saw you had it.
Yeah, it's another one of those which you should really play, because if I was to stream it, you'd get the joke, as it were.
Oh, I see. It's like another jokey thing.
Yeah, so basically you are the clock. You count the seconds and minutes and this, that, and the other. It's interesting how it all works out.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I saw that when you were doing that stream, and you said, "Oh, I got Clock Simulator." I was like, "What?"
It's a real thing.
The thumbnail really doesn't make it look like it's going to be a joke game. It just looks like it's trying to be as serious as possible. It's like, okay.
Well,
But it's got the word simulator in it, so I should have guessed really.
yeah. I was thinking along the lines of, don't suppose anyone had like the DSi or 3DS where you have like the Mario clock or the Zelda clock.
Oh, I think I remember those, but I never actually downloaded those.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, I thought it was just going to be like them, but not completely interactive, but not completely interactive. If you get what I mean.
Yeah,
What
I
else?
get you.
Something else. I've started Fantasy Star Online 2. I haven't got that far into it.
Did you have to get like an American download then, or?
All you need to do is just change Windows to say that you're in America, and you can download it.
Oh,
Because
okay.
it's for Windows. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I didn't even think that you could do that.
Yeah.
Oh, neat.
That's neat.
Yeah. And then I changed it back to the UK afterwards, and everything seems to be fine. It's the same what I've done with the Xbox One version. I just changed my region to America, downloaded it.
Do you know you can do that with Games for Gold on Xbox as well?
Really? So you can get like different stuff.
Yeah, I did that before. Like Japanese always have like quite more interesting games. So you just switch your region, and they have like 4 other games you can buy. I've got loads.
Oh wow, that's cool.
And I did actually Google it, saying like, is it all right if I get a game from a different region? And Microsoft to say, well, yeah, we can't take it, stop you. So
you're still giving us
what it does.
Giving us your download, I suppose. It didn't really matter to them in the long run.
No, as long as they get the money, and that's
Nice.
What else have I been playing? I think that is actually it.
How have you been getting on with Fantasy Star?
To be honest, not that far into it because it took me like 6 hours to download.
Oof, yeah, I can imagine.
When it said, "Oh, this will only take 1 hour and 40 minutes," yeah, they lied. So
yeah.
So by then it was bedtime, so I gave up and forgot all about it until now. So
okay. So you downloaded it?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's as far as I got. I've created my character, so that's.
Okay. You did. Oh, you did make a character, yeah.
Yeah. So
I've seen there's some really strange things you can do with a character created in that. I saw someone that had 6 breasts.
What?
You can I think it's like DLC. You can buy additional breasts.
Oh, for God's sake!
Just
that is
really.
I've ever heard.
Yeah, I saw that
like
earlier
total,
today. I was just like,
total recall.
Yeah.
It actually is. I mean, it's set in the future in space, so excuse? I don't know.
So that's what people want in the future, is it?
More tits. More tits on one person.
Oh,
I mean, I've seen a girl who has a character in that game who has some massive hips.
Oh God!
Like huge.
But that's DLC as well. You got to pay for that.
Yeah, probably. I should make
extra thick DLC.
I should make a female character and see how far I can push that under vanilla vanilla settings.
Yeah, I did that in PlayStation Home back in the day.
Oh God!
Oh man, I remember PlayStation Home. God, I miss that.
It was
I'm surprised you do, because barely anyone else does.
I
think it was garbage. Garbage.
It was a free service.
It was free, but it doesn't excuse it just being terrible. Like all I remember about it is you had to. I think most of the time I spent with it is you just had to constantly download stuff because like it only gives you like the base, the room you're in, and it's like, oh, I'll go to this other area. Downloading, and then you get to the next area, and then you go to pick up something, downloading, and it was just I had slow internet at the time, and it was just not. I think I dabbled in it a couple hours, and I was just fed up with it. It was just.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I do remember that, but like it had its moments. Like Sony used to recreate their E3 booths in PlayStation Home and let you explore it,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
which I
cute.
think is something that should be happening a lot more often in a post certain health crisis world.
Yeah.
I mean, they are starting to do stuff like that in some of these like games for Surface games. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
Fortnite is getting like exclusive trailers being broadcast within the game.
Fortnite is doing that. It also has concerts, really cool looking concerts, I gotta admit. And VR Chat is having a sort of E3 sort of convention thing going on this month.
Oh, fair
Sega's
enough.
gonna be there with their own digital goods store.
Blimey. I'm surprised they will go anywhere near that when they see some of the stuff that people make in it. But yeah.
Always the trendsetters, Sega try to be.
Sega try to be.
Yeah, that's the quote right there. Try to be. Is that everything? Everything? Hunk Thunder.
Yeah, I think we all covered. my
Okay.
week.
I guess I'll go next then. So, other than the usual stuff that I've been streaming and Asphalt, I won't go into those because obviously you know about those. I did stream the Ninjala closed the open beta yesterday, which thankfully on the UK server at least actually stayed solid the whole time I was playing it, which from what I could tell wasn't the case in America, because while I was doing that stream, we constantly had people in the chat. Like we ended up with more viewers on that live stream than I think any of our live streams ever, just because people were flooding in going, why can't I log in? Why can't I play this?
That turned out to be just because of like different time windows.
Oh my god, it was driving me mad.
Yeah.
It was driving you mad as well, wasn't it, Hunk? Because you were giving them an answer. It was like, it's in 2 hours time for America. And they were like, but I'm
Yeah.
in America. And it's like,
yes, I know you're in America. That's why I gave you the American time.
and they're like, oh, what battlefield if I'm in Massachusetts or like different states and stuff. It's like, just we're not tech support. We're not tech support.
I apologize on behalf of my home country. Yes, put up with this.
It was.
I mean, I was watching your stream from my Switch,
Mm.
which I realized that the YouTube app for Switch doesn't let you write comments,
No.
but it lets you look at the live chat during
Oh
the live
god,
video.
yeah. And
So
there was just lots of full caps, like, when can I get on?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to inform people about what was going on with the times for the beta.
That's the thing. Plenty of people were putting answers down, but they weren't listening to the answers.
It was like, what's the time zone? GMT. What's it on Switch? What?
Oh,
yeah, it was kind of frustrating, but on the other hand, the stream went quite well.
Yeah,
It
it went pretty well. Yeah. Other than them games. Oh, sorry, go.
To their credit, when it was time for the beta for North America, that actually went pretty well too.
Oh, it did. Oh, okay.
After the first hour, because I tried right when it started and I couldn't get in for like 45 minutes.
Oh, geez.
And then I finally got in and everything went swimmingly. That game was a lot of fun, actually.
It is, actually. I'm kind of looking forward to the final release, actually, when it comes out next month or later this month.
Well, it's later this month now, yeah.
I think it's
of course,
later this
1st June.
Yeah, it's the first day of June now. It's not May anymore.
Yes.
Goodness.
I don't know anymore.
Time, that thing that makes no sense anymore. But yeah, other than the games that I've been streaming, I've also been playing quite a bit of Magical Drop on the Saturn, because I got the first one, so I own the whole trilogy of them now. Kind of redundant owning the first one now, because the first one is kind of basic compared to the other two, because they really opened them up for the later ones, and the art style's completely different, and there's one song in it for some reason. But I just wanted to have the whole trilogy, I just wanted to, because I've basically got a whole shelf just for Saturn puzzle games now. I've got so many bloody puzzle games. ridiculous. But yeah, I played that one for a little bit, and I was like, oh, I'll go back into the second one and the third one. And the third one, I didn't realise the Saturn version has like this kind of like versus almost like Mario Party mode in it, where you go against an opponent, either CPU or a player, and you got like you throw a dice and you go so many spaces, and then you'll land on like certain events, and then you get like these different variants of magical drop gameplay, where like normally it would just be like a big load of like coloured the tiles will drop down and then you grab them and throw them back up to match the colours. In this mode, you'll get like all these different variants of it, where like sometimes the pieces are falling right down, sort of like just dropping down, or there'll be like coins you have to grab. And I just thought that was a really cool mode. I didn't realise that I just assumed the Saturn version was just a port of the Neo Geo game, but it actually has a lot of extra stuff, which is really nice. And it's like it was just cool to find that. And I've also been playing after I did that Saturn Shindig the other week, where I was playing that pinball game Necronomicon. I went back to the other pinball game that developer made called The Last Gladiators. Oh, those games are so good. Like, it's hard to explain, but I think they might be the best pinball video games ever made. Those two games, Last Gladiator and Necronomicon, they just feel perfect, and they're so satisfying. And just the sounds and the ridiculous rock music that plays, and all the weird chanting and voice work in it, and there's just something about it that the multi-ball just almost immediately happens. Sometimes you'll just hit one thing and just be like multi-ball, and you get like 6 balls all flying around. It just keeps shouting jackpot at you every 5 seconds, and it's just like, this is the most addictive thing I've ever played. It's so fun. Just like it's just an assault on your senses. Just a really pleasant assault on your senses. Just like crazy metal music always playing, and like the physics of it, like physics-wise, it feels like real pinball. Like right down to the fact, like it's probably one of the most realistic pinball games I've ever played. But at the same time, it's video gamey enough that I'm not just like immediately sinking the ball in between the flippers every time I play it. Like when I try to play actual pinball machines, that's what happens. Yeah, you just go, okay, I'll just launch the ball. Oh, it's gone down the middle. Just like immediately. It's just like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's got just enough balance between feeling like actual pinball and not like being weird and floaty like some pinball games. But also being video gamey, and just like, I guess the other thing I really like about it as well is it's an option, but it's set on by default, where it actually points at things and tells you what things do. So you're not just like smacking the ball around, just bashing it into things, hoping something happens. You actually can sort of learn what the table is about, like actually learn where the things are, and it will say, oh, go here within 10 seconds to get another additional points, and go up, hit this thing 5 times. It will just point out it's almost like what would you call it? It's just like little annotations just pop up as you're playing, just saying, oh, hey, go over here, and it will tell you if you set off a timer, and it will be like, oh, you've got 25 seconds to hit this. And it's just got all these, and it's all in English as well. They're Japanese games, but it's all entirely in English. I think the first game did actually come out in the West, but Necronomicon didn't for some reason. But yeah, I was playing those for ages because they're just possibly the best pinball games ever made. I was also playing, because they're basically by a developer called Kaze, who almost pretty much exclusively specialised in pinball games. They didn't really do much else. I've also got a game they did for the Super Nintendo. I think it's called, I don't know what it's called now, Super Pinball Behind the Mask. That one's right. It's not as good as the Saturn ones, because that's like top of the game. Like that's them at their peak. But it's still, for a Super Nintendo game, it's incredible how good it looks and how realistic the physics are. The only thing with the SNES one is the tables are quite basic. They don't have any ramps. They don't have any like things for the ball to fly around on. It's pretty much just bumpers and stuff. But the physics are just, even in that one, are just so goddamn good. And it does this really cool like Mode 7 effect when it goes up to look at the score each time you lose a ball, and it looks like the table's actually tilting, sort of like almost like your perspective, like looking up and down at the table. It's really clever. They
Does sound clever.
Yeah, so basically, if you ever see a pinball game that's got the developer Kaze, which is Kaze, I think they did like a Power Rangers pinball game on the PlayStation. They did a Akira pinball game on the PS2. I think there's a couple others.
That Akira game was them?
Yeah, apparently. Basically, I think if you're going to go for like, if there's only one of their games you should get, it's Necronomicon on the Saturn or Last Gladiators, because that one was available in America and Europe as well. But yeah, I don't know what it is about pinball video games. I don't really get pinball. Like I don't, I'm not like an expert. I don't usually I just mess around and hope things happen. But like, I feel like these two games do a really good job of actually teaching you how to play pinball properly and like actually learn the table. And I wish more pinball games did that. They actually sort of like pointed things out and go, "Oh, hey, hit this right now. Hit this. Do." If you aim the ball, so it teaches you when to hit the ball, on the flipper, because like obviously depending where you hit the ball with the flipper, it will go to certain places if you're lucky. And it sort of teaches you how to play pinball in a way. It's really nice. So yeah, that's basically what I've been playing, other than the stuff on streams, which was mostly just Saturn pinball and Magical Drop.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful.
Been playing much, CherryT?
Well, I'm still hopping between like different Pokemon games and also Mario Picross.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, when I wasn't messing on the Saturn, you were playing quite a lot of that again, weren't you?
Oh yeah, Mario Picross.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm doing quite well on that. There are a few rounds that have like sort of stumped me a bit, but then that's because I'm doing the Wario rounds now and not.
Yeah, they're much tougher.
I think I said last time that I finished the Mario ones quite a long time ago.
Yeah, that was back. I think that was back when I was living with my parents, wasn't it? When you were playing it online.
Yep.
And you finished them there. I think when I first got the game, actually. I think that was like a while back, quite a few years ago now.
Yeah. And then, as far as Pokemon's concerned, I've actually completed the Pokédex in Sword and Shield now.
Oh yes, you did, didn't you? Yeah.
Oh wow, you caught them all.
Certainly did.
Yes, including.
Well, you saw them all at least, right?
No, she's got a complete living dex, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh damn.
Yeah, all in boxes.
Good job.
All hoarded away.
Even though a couple of them have probably been a bit gimped, like my Zamazenta, which was a blooming, level 100, 6 IV, very fishy stuff. If you know what I mean.
What, from trades?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So you got some that you reckon might have been hacked ones.
Yeah, but I didn't feel like I was conned out of anything special to get that, so.
Ah, fair enough.
Oh, so yeah. If you ever want to try and get the other legendary, never trade your legendary for it. Just get some other kind of low level like Trashmon, like
Trashmon.
Yeah.
Like the one that's literally a bin bag.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I actually like that one. Everyone's like, "Oh, that was terrible," but it's like it's a little bin bag with a face in it. It's called Trubbish. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
How can you not love that? It's called Trubbish.
Yeah.
And then it turns into like this big, like dirt monster. And it's got like cigarette butts for fingers. It's like, how can you not like that? That's fantastic. That's such a clever design. And people are like, "Oh no, it's awful." It's like they've run out of ideas. It's like, no, that's one of the good ones.
I like Trubbish.
Trubbish is cool. It's a little bin bag. Tied up bin bag. And like, where you like tie up a bin bag and like do the little knot part, that's like its little ears.
Yeah, even then. Yeah, I think I must have swapped Zamazenta for a Swalot. No, a swap to Swalot for the Zamazenta. Which again, I ended up getting on a trade anyway.
That's the shield legendary.
Yes. Yeah. The other Doggo.
Shield Doggo. How you been getting on with Y? Pokemon Y?
Not too bad. I think I've done about 3 gyms now.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not entirely sure how far in the Pokédex I've gotten into yet.
I presume the Pokédex in some of those 3DS ones is technically bigger than the Sword and Shield one because of all the cut Pokemon.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, even from like Gen 3, it had like completely different like dexes and that. So.
Where they've rearranged the numbers of them and stuff.
Yeah, or have their own separate region like dexes. Yeah. So I guess it's just everyone getting the right ump about Sword and Shield, not having it that all off, I think.
Yeah.
Because
especially when it was like a console game.
Yeah.
I guess people just expected it to have everything, but you know.
Yeah, Sun and Moon
HD
didn't have one.
Console game, and all the previous ones were handheld games. So it's quite a step up for Game Freak.
Yeah,
especially when a lot of the
very
3DS ones, you know, they had to cut out 3D because the game couldn't handle it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do find I think the only thing I don't really like too much about Y is like the soundtrack.
Oh right. Usually they've got really good soundtracks.
Usually, it's yeah, the one it's like X and Y's battle soundtracks particularly are not like a bit bland compared to like others.
Yeah, because I really like the Sword and Shield stuff.
Oh, the Sword and Shield one's really great, and like I really like the Sun and Moon ones as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never seen you boogie into them quite a few times, just sitting there doing battles, but also just bobbing your head.
Yeah, I love the trainer battle version, that song in Ultra Moon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things I don't really like about X and Y, but otherwise I'm doing too badly with it.
Okay, that all of yours?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess one thing
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
I do agree about the X and Y music, and I really like the Sun and Moon music. If just going by the remixes in Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Yeah, there was a lot of Pokemon music in that game. I'll probably have to go back to those remixes now because I actually have context for hearing them. You've been playing them now.
Yeah.
I guess one other little thing I could mention as technically part of my what I've been playing is I was having a tinker around with, because basically I got that new Ethernet cable that can basically reach to the top of the house, so I can stream from up in my retro gaming room now, which is what I've always wanted. Every time I've done like a Sega Saturn stream or Mega Drive stream, I've had to bring the console downstairs to sort of like our living room where the PVR and all that was set up. But now I've actually set up everything is now upstairs in the gaming room. So if I want to stream old consoles, I could actually just plug. I wouldn't even have to dedicate a stream to one console. I could literally just get any game from any system and just go boop, boop, done.
Yep.
And just do it. But what I also wanted to check out is whether I could do, because I've got my CRT up there and I've got a PC monitor up there. I wanted to see if I could somehow capture light gun games and actually play them on the CRT. And it actually, after a load of fiddling around, at first I thought I was going to have to daisy chain the console to my video player, and then that to the DVD recorder, and then that to the PVR, and then that to the PC. But that didn't work for some reason. Somewhere along that chain, it just breaks and it doesn't let you actually shoot stuff on the CRT. Probably something to do with the DVD recorder. So that didn't work. But then I found out that my little SCART multiplier thing that I use, that just has like 4 SCART ports in it, it's also got like an RGB in, or an RGB out rather. So I put that into the back of, well, I don't really need to go into the schematics of it, but basically it was actually a lot simpler than I thought it would be, and I found a way to not only play light gun games on the CRT, but capture them in with HDMI at the same time. In fact, if I set it up a certain way, I can actually play the game on the CRT. The only disadvantage is the game doesn't look as good on the CRT, but it still looks as good as normal when I normally capture through the HDMI. Because it's like RGB into the TV rather than SCART, the picture quality is a little bit fuzzy. But technically I can have the game running on the CRT, the monitor, and my PC at the same time. So I've got it 3 times for no particular reason. I can do that, but I don't have to. But yeah, next time we do a Sega Saturn Shindig, I want to do a light gun special and just play all 7 light gun games I've got, including Die Hard trilogy.
Nice.
So yeah, I suppose another thing I've been playing this week is just testing all of those out and trying all my light gun games out. I can actually play Death Crimson properly instead of just like fumbling around with a D-pad like on the Gagaman and Cherry. So look forward to that, I suppose. Be doing that at some point.
Nice.
So,
Excellent.
So yeah, I guess we should move on to the gaming news. As you can imagine, there hasn't been a lot this week, especially with like some of the stuff going on. Like for example, the PlayStation 5 reveal was supposed to be this Thursday, but they have postponed it for the time being, which is sensible and makes perfect sense to me. Related to the PlayStation 5, apparently from the 13th of July, every single PlayStation 4 game that comes out from that point has to be compatible with the PS5. Basically, they're putting down like a thing that like if you're going to make a PS4 game, make sure it's backwards compatible with the forwards compatible. I don't know, but like it would be backwards compatible.
Sure, it's cross compatible.
Yeah, that would be the term. Yeah. Basically, they want to make sure that because they can't guarantee every single PS4 game is going to work on the PS5 from day one, because there's a lot of PS4 games. If you count the digital stuff, there's thousands of games. I don't know, there's loads. So there's no way they can confirm that every single game is compatible, because it's the same with the Xbox. Not every single game is compatible, because some have licensing issues, some they just can't get to work yet, or they have to do some extra work to get them to work. So yeah, but what they're saying is basically any game that comes out from pretty much this month, they want to make sure that next month, sorry, July, they basically want to make sure that they're going to be playable from day one on PlayStation 5, which makes sense to me, because people that buy a PlayStation 5 who maybe didn't have a PlayStation 4, they'll probably buy games that are semi-current. They'll buy games that have come out within the last year, I suppose. So that makes sense to do. So if anyone else has got any thoughts on this.
I just think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good.
I'm just glad that they are thinking of backwards compatibility on some level.
Yeah, it's a shame they can't do the previous systems. I mean, 1 and 2 should be easy, but they obviously just can't be bothered. I can understand why they're not doing 3, because 3 is complicated.
With 3, they have an excuse. Plus, a lot of 3's most popular games have been remastered on PlayStation 4 anyway.
In terms of like first-party stuff, yeah. No Tokyo Jungle, though. You can't play Tokyo Jungle on anything but the PS3 yet. That's just me, though.
You can play Journey on PS4, but you can't play Tokyo Jungle.
Yeah,
as of this recording.
Yeah. So it is a shame that they can't find some way. Like I'd imagine the PS5 is probably powerful enough to emulate the PS3, but again, the architecture of the 3 was particularly notoriously complicated. So I guess I'm just going to have my PS3 lying around some more, even though it's getting a bit tired.
Funny enough, I was watching a YouTube documentary about Metal Gear Solid 4, and pretty much like the first half hour of that is saying how they basically got the PS3 to work for them, and like other titles like say Skyrim, they just couldn't really work out how to deal with the PS3.
I am still absolutely baffled that 4 hasn't found a port in any form outside of PS3. I'm shocked. I am absolutely shocked that they haven't tried to port that to anything else. Not even not saying they could have done it on 360, because there was reasons they couldn't, because it didn't have like Blu-ray discs and stuff like that. But like current gen, why is there not like a PS4 version of that?
That is weird.
It's strange.
Yeah, I really liked 4.
The amount of like ports of previous games you could get and stuff like that. I'm just surprised they never attempted it, because it's what it is. But
I'm guessing Konami hates Kojima is the short answer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably not
But
helped.
either way, money should. You would think money would talk in this situation, but
Yeah.
It is a strange choice.
of course,
Maybe.
of course, I know there's a lot of licensed material in Metal Gear Solid 4. Like, I think there was Apple iPod stuff in it, for example.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm sure they could
Maybe
find ways to edit
re-upping on-
that.
That's easy fix though.
Yeah.
Like you can just swap out the actual brands, like they did with Shenmue 1 and 2 remake.
Yeah, if Sega could do that with Shenmue, Konami could do it with the Metal Gear Solid game.
Yeah.
Funny enough, there was some Assassin's Creed costumes in Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, there was, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, that's another.
Okay,
it?
I didn't know that.
Well, yeah.
I feel like at this rate, they're probably
Ubisoft's usually happy to go along with that. They'll probably be fine
Renegotiate.
with that going ahead.
yeah, true.
Did you ever
I
play
think-
Peace Walker and get the Assassin's Creed box?
Oh,
That was hilarious. It was a box. You had like all the different cardboard boxes. You had an Assassin's Creed one that was like it had straw in it, and you can get people to do the dive into the box. That was really fun on multiplayer because you could fit 2 people in a box in that game. So you could get people to escape, from tight situations by having your mate waiting at the bottom of a huge drop, one of those Assassin's Creed boxes.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just now realizing how many games actually have Assassin's Creed costumes.
Oh yeah, they
quite
go.
a few.
15 has it. One of the 13 games has it. Even Super Smash Brothers Ultimate has that out
Yeah.
there new costume.
I think that was quite recent, wasn't it?
I was, yeah.
That was the most recent crossover.
Yeah.
I can think of.
Excellent.
So yeah, because I know when they did that whole, what was it, the road to PS5 thing where they basically just yammered about the technology for ages. They did sort of drip fed some info about the backwards compatibility. They pretty much confirmed it's only going to be PS4 stuff, and that the system's going to have like, I think what it is when they're saying not everything's going to be compatible. Basically, I think the system has like a PS4 Pro and PS4 modes in it. Almost like you've got the systems built into them, kind of like how other systems backwards compatibility work, like how the Wii U had a Wii mode. So I should imagine every game will work in those modes. When they're talking about not every game's going to be compatible, they're talking about like with enhancements. So like being able to play them at maybe smoother frame rates or higher resolutions and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I think so too. It could be like what they also do with Xbox, where a lot of 360 and even original Xbox games are now Xbox 4K compliant if you play on Xbox One X. I think that might also be a big priority for them.
I do feel like Xbox have,
At least-
in particular, been
At least
doing.
with the most popular games, anyway.
Yeah, I feel like Xbox have been doing a really bloody good job with their backwards compatibility, because not only are they actually bringing as much as they can over, they have actually you can get stuff like Daytona USA. You can get that on the Xbox One now. And
Well, let me give you a great example of what they did.
Hmm.
They've started giving that treatment to the original Xbox lineup as well.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
Well, the original Xbox version of Morrowind is notorious for being awful. It's just really bad. Like loading times would take like 3-4 minutes to load into the world, and that's a game where sometimes you want to reload a lot. Things go wrong, so you'll be, I'll reload. I'll go make a cup of tea and make some bloody dinner. You got to wait for ages, and that was just the tip of the iceberg. The game just played horrifically, but with the Xbox One like enhancements that it's got, I've still got the disc version, so I was able to just whack the disc in, and I had to install it. It's an Xbox game; it took no time at all. And that version is not only playable; it's so good on the Xbox now. The loading times are nothing; it's solid 60. It looks fantastic. I mean, obviously, it doesn't look. It's got Morrowind's graphics, so it looks like Morrowind. But
right, it's a better resolution, so it smooths some stuff out. Yeah.
It's sort of now this completely defunct old game that was notoriously bad, almost unplayable, is now fixed. So I'm incredibly grateful for that. Well, I now play the console version of Morrowind quite happily.
Yeah, that's what I really like about what they're doing, because they're not just like directly porting it over exactly as it was. They're actually enhancing them in many ways and making them better than they originally were. Which I really wish they could do that with PS3, because there were so many games on the PS3 that were really dodgy ports. Like Bayonetta on the PS3 was a disaster. It was so choppy and
I heard about
fuzzy, and every time you press pause, the game would have to load the pause screen, and it was just a really dodgy port. Stuff like Skyrim as well was like notoriously bad on it. Obviously, there's better versions now, so that's
Bethesda
redundant.
always
But...
have a problem with Sony. They always seem to half-ass the Sony ports. I don't know why. If you play like Oblivion on the PS3, I don't know if that's on PS4 as well, but literally whole dungeons will just have like ceilings missing and stuff like that. You can fall out of the world really easily. They just couldn't be bothered. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's really,
I just kind of wish Sony could go the extra mile and go, hey, we're putting... because if that's what I wanted from the PS4, and that's why I still don't have one, is the fact that it couldn't do PS3 at least. Like, and like PS1 would be an absolute doddle. Like, that's not difficult at all. They can easily do that, but they just can't be bothered, and it's a real shame.
If they could get the same package for PlayStation 1 games running on PS3 to work on the Vita of all things,
and the PSP,
they could have actually done it. And the
playing
PSP,
PS1
yes.
games on the PSP was fantastic. It was so good.
They could have easily had that running on PS4. Even if they couldn't do things like 4K upscaling or trophies, whatever. Just let me play the game, damn it.
Yeah,
that annoys me with PS4. Like,
I paid for these games.
I don't know why they didn't just put the PS1 games on there, because you look at the store, don't you, and it says like available on PS3, Vita, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and
those
where's
those PS1 games are still are still available to purchase. They still occasionally go on sale too.
Yeah, they do occasionally discount them. Yeah, they put them up really cheap as well. You can get like all the Metal Gear Solid games for like a couple quid sometimes. It's just like, but they're good if you got a PSP or Vita, but otherwise it's kind of redundant.
Every time there's a sale, every Tomb Raider game on the PS1 and even the PSP games, they get discounted to like less than $2 each.
So I'd love to have all those on the PS4 hard drive. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Are you kidding? You wouldn't want that.
I only just recently got all of those on the PS1 now. I was missing, not Chronicles, I was missing the Last Revelation for ages.
Fourth one.
Just couldn't find a copy of it, I finally got it.
I think last time they did one of those sales, I got the PSP version of Tomb Raider Anniversary. Because why not?
That's not too bad.
And it's compatible with the Vita and the PlayStation TV.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah, and I have both of those things, so might as well, right?
I've got a PlayStation TV knocking around somewhere as well. I've barely used it, but it's about so tiny that I just threw it in the drawer somewhere.
I still know where mine is, at least, but I don't think I've used it in a year. Jeez Louise.
So yeah, I guess that's all we've really got on PS5 at the moment. We will be hearing more about it soonish, and from what I've seen, it's going to be a massive show, because they've even been advertising it on TV. Like, they've actually been showing it in between like ESPN matches on like American TV. So it's going to be when it does happen, it's going to be a big deal. I think they're going to hopefully give us a price. They're going to let us look at the damn thing. I actually want to see what it looks. Not that that's really important, but it'd be nice to see if it's actually got a cool design and not just like another black slab. Just like a lump of plastic.
I'm just betting that dev kit that we've all seen, the consumer console's not going to look like that.
No, I think it's pretty much been guaranteed from insiders that it looks nothing like that, because they rarely do look like the dev kits.
I mean, a lot of dev kits for a lot of systems, like even the Dreamcast and the DS, they look like a desktop computer.
Yeah, basically, yeah. The
And what
Dreamcast one is just a
and
big desktop
what
computer.
console ever looks like a desktop aside from the Xbox Series X, but that's not even out yet.
I guess speaking about next gen stuff, I guess this is kind of related. So even though we're not getting the PlayStation 5 reveal this week anymore, there is apparently supposed to be something coming from Sega on the same day, July 4th, according to Famitsu or some insiders or something, and they're just saying it's going to be like an industry-changing announcement from Sega, and no one knows what it's going to be, and the rumors are getting wild. Like, I may as well plop some of them down here just for like preservation, and then we can look back at this podcast and laugh because some of these rumors are ridiculous. So one of them, so one of the rumors currently is that they're going to rebrand the Xbox Series X in Japan only as a Sega console to help it sell? Question marks.
And another insider has, I think, just today said that whatever this reveal is, it actually does not involve Microsoft. So if they're right, then this is absolutely not true.
So all we know,
I can't imagine it would help the Xbox much in Japan if that happened anyway.
No, exactly. Sega, like, their most popular console in Japan was the Saturn. The Mega Drive flopped, the Dreamcast flopped. The Saturn was pretty good. It did pretty well. Pico did well there, I suppose, for a toy. But I can't see how the Sega brand would really help that console. Plus, that wouldn't make any sense. Why would... It's ridiculous, you know? That's like them going, the PlayStation in Brazil is going to be called the Tech Toy Master System 5, you know? It's just like, it's not going to... It's ridiculous. It's like, how many extra units are they going to... Because Xbox has never been popular in Japan. It's always been... It's just bombed over there every single time. There was like a few exclusive shmups on it, on the 360. That's about it. But otherwise, it was incredibly niche in Japan. Like, when you looked at like the sales figures, they had like weekly sales figures in like Famitsu magazine, and it'd be like PlayStation 4 18,000, Switch 20,000, 3DS 5,000, Xbox One 7. It was like that's how like ridiculous it was. It was literally in single digits with the Xbox One. But how many more units would Sega branding add? 5? They'll get that number 7 maybe to a 10, you know? I can't see it. The only thing I can see is they'll sell more because you get people, idiots like me, importing it just to have a console that says Sega on it. It's like, I can pretend it's kind of a Sega console. It's not by Sega, but it says Sega on it. It's got a Sega logo on it. You know, it's silly.
There's a lot of Sega games you can play on Xbox.
I mean, there is technically. You can download the Xbox 360 and Xbox original Sega games on it, and you know they're putting stuff like Yakuza 7 and that on there. So. You can close your eyes and pretend if you want that it's a Sega console, but that rumor's ridiculous. If that happens, I will eat several hats.
And you know what? Let's say this actually is going to happen. Like, it doesn't even have to be Sega. Let's say it gets rebranded by, I don't know, Konami or even Nintendo, and it gets sold in Japan like that.
That's gonna happen.
Yeah, but, you know, for the sake of argument, if that happens, it's still the Xbox. They still have to call it an Xbox.
I guess.
And like it or not, the Xbox has a reputation in Japan. And it's going to take a lot more than a Japanese company's name to undo that reputation. And
reputation being what? If you ask anyone what an Xbox is, they go, "What? What's an Xbox? What?" Sorry, I'm still playing on my Switch. Shut up. They were literally, I think it was around the time the Xbox 360 and the PS3 were coming out, and there was like interviews on some Japanese program where they were going around to some kids and going, which system are you looking forward to, the PlayStation or the Xbox? And they were like, the what? They were literally like, the what? What's an Xbox? They just didn't get it. I'm gonna have to look up my tweets of it, but basically, this whole spiral of like Sega fans going, "Oh, what could this be?" Basically, all we know is it's nothing to do with a port of a game. It's nothing to do with like a new game. It's not software related, and we also know it's not an acquisition, or at least I'm pretty sure we know it's not an acquisition. So it's not going to be another case of Sega buying out someone like Atlas or something like that, because they've done a lot of that, so that would be expected and not really earth-shattering. But this is going to be really sad, but I actually had a dream the other night about what it's going to be. And I may as well put this out just in case my stupid nighttime brain is a Nostradamus, because you never know. So basically, I had a literal dream, because my brain is that sad at night, like that's all it can dream up, about a cloud service called Go Sega, right? Because that's the campaign they've been doing recently for the 60 years, Go Sega. So it's a cloud service that lets you play any Sega game from any console they've ever done by simply inputting the key or the barcode onto your modern platform. So basically, you could get the back of your Mega Drive box, put in the scan the barcode, and then you can play it on your Switch, or like your PS4 or your PS5. And like my dream was so specific that it was almost realistic. It even my dream even went into like, oh, there's certain games that are not going to work. You know, it's not going to be everything. It had like bullet points. My dream had butts. It's not literal butts, but like that's a completely different dream. The fact that you could, I don't know, you could buy a game on the Xbox 360 and play it on the Switch. You could buy, but only Sega ones. Does that make sense? So, like for example, you could get the Sega Ages games for the Switch. You could buy them. Basically, it's like a pass-through. You're not buying the games from Sega. You're not paying for. It's a free service, but you have to go to, for example, you'd have to go to Nintendo and buy the games from their service, and then put the key into this streaming app, and it will let you basically just play the game on anything else. It's ridiculous, but that doesn't sound realistic. But I just thought it was hilarious. You know, like being able to stream Yakuza 6 on your Switch, or vice versa. You know, like play Switch game. It's Sega developed exclusive Switch games on your. You know, it's not like any game, but people would find ways to hack it, wouldn't they? It's like, I don't know. Yeah, that's what the dream was. So I can't see them doing that, but I could maybe see them doing a streaming service where it's just like a back catalogue of old games.
Yeah, they love doing that.
Yeah, they love re-releasing their games over and over again, but I don't think they've actually done like a subscription-based service where you can just cloud stream Sega games yet.
Yeah,
not properly anyway.
That's what the dudes over at Sega Bits suspected that this might be.
Yeah, because
Sega tries to do these things all the time where they come up with a name for like an initiative to bring back a bunch of games. So like when they did those Dreamcast HD remasters, they did Sega Heritage, and that never went anywhere after that. They did Sega Forever for mobile, which doesn't
died already.
I don't even know if they're still doing mobile development now. They're
not
social media.
It's pretty much just a Twitter now.
Sega's past.
Yeah, it brings up really nice high-res scans of old artwork. Yeah, that's pretty much all they're good for now. Sega technically were actually the first to do a technically the first to do a streaming service for Sega games, like Sega Channel.
Oh yeah.
When you think about it, obviously there was like Japanese things like the Satellaview, which were around the same time or maybe earlier. But in terms of like
Sega
over here,
was worldwide, whereas
for the most part,
Satellaview was only in Japan.
Yeah, so I can see that happening, but at the same time, that's not really industry breaking. That's just it's another service, it's another streaming service. There's loads of those.
Unless it works flawlessly, maybe that would be considered industry breaking.
Yeah, I think that's why my dream was like this whole thing where you can just put in the barcode and it will just let you play it. It's like if you own this game, you can play it anywhere. It's like no, they're not going to do that. As great as that sounds, yeah, yeah,
It's
but
a beautiful vision.
it is a
but I
beautiful
wouldn't
vision that
own mine on that.
my stupid brain had at night instead of normal dreams.
I
But
wonder what else it could be, though.
yeah, that's what I mean. I almost feel like they're just talking out of their ass. If they're saying, like, when Sega hasn't done anything industry breaking, like industry changing for
The only other
long
thing
time.
it could be is a new console.
Again,
Well,
I'm
they're not
sure that no, they can't do that. They can't afford to do that. They don't have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
They're not that big of a company anymore.
gonna do that. No.
They lost so much.
Stands roll out.
That's
The only
the
way
thing.
that could happen is if like another company went in with them.
Exactly, yeah, like that whole. That's what I think. That's where the whole like Sega Xbox Series X thing's coming from, where it's like, oh, Sega might collaborate with Microsoft, and it's like, but why would they only do that in Japan? If they were going to do that, they would have done it at the start of the announcement of the console. They would have gone, this is the Xbox Series X. Also, it's a Sega console. It's like, but the problem is, Xbox is a bigger. It's not big in Japan, but it's a way bigger brand than Sega is now. Sony's a much bigger brand. Nintendo's a much bigger brand. They're all bigger brands than Sega. Sega is like down the list now. They're not one of the big 3 or 4 or 5. They're like in the 20s now. In terms of like the biggest game companies, they're not there.
I think what people are thinking with that particular rumor is this is a thing that happens with electronics all the time, where an American company who is not very lucrative in Japan, they'll rely on a Japanese company to release their product for them in Japan. So like Apple did this with the Pippin, where they had Bandai release it in Japan as their own system.
That makes sense, yeah.
Of course, it didn't do much better in Japan than it did in North America. But at the time, Bandai was not really much of a not much of a video game company.
They're pretty much the Gundam company.
They certainly weren't a console company anyway.
No.
This was years before their merger with Namco. But if Apple's a much bigger company in Japan now, so they're able to release their own products with their own name in Japan today. But that was kind of a necessary step for stuff like this.
Yeah, I just can't see Sega being the company they would go to. Like, if they want the recognition, like an instant brand recognition in Japan, I don't think Sega's the one. Like, Sega are well known in Japan. They are big, but they're not like casual people ain't gonna go out and go, oh, that's a Sega console, I'm gonna get that. I don't think that's a thing.
Sega is still a huge tour de force in the arcade sector in Japan. They're one of the few companies that still make their own arcade hardware.
Yeah, but the problem with that is it's a very niche market, full stop. So they're like the top dog of a very niche market.
Yeah, it might make more sense in Japan, but even so, I really don't think that would help the Xbox enough for that to be a consideration, anyways.
No, I don't think it would. I don't think it would make sense. It would just get saddos like me to go, oh, let's pretend. It would actually convince me to get an Xbox because there are things I really like about the Xbox, all the backwards compatible stuff. I really wish I had a 360 or an original Xbox now, so I could have, still be playing those games now on new hardware with all those enhancements. But I chose I chose the wrong horse when it comes to the PS3 and 360. Yeah, I picked the PS3, and now I'm stuck with the PS3 because it's got loads of games on it that I really like. But they're only playable in there, including stuff like House of the Dead 4. You can only play that on the PS3 now. It's like, it just sucks.
Ain't brand loyalty a wonderful thing?
Yeah, the thing with that is I've never really, like, ever since like Sega stopped making consoles, I've just kind of flip-flopped between like console brands, I've never really been that fussy. The only ones I never picked up was Xbox because I just wasn't fussed. Like the original Xbox just did nothing for me. It had a few exclusive Sega games on it, which I actually bought a second-hand Xbox, played Jet Set Radio Future. The thing was way too big. I had no room for it in my tiny bedroom, and I had to get rid of it again. So I just played for Jet Set Radio Future and got rid of it, and that was my only experience with Xbox. I never had one beyond that point. That's the only like brand of consoles I've never had, like Xbox.
Yeah.
Just for no
It was
particular
the
reason.
same-
No, it's not like a
was
hatred
the
or
same-
anything. It's just indifference, you know.
It was the same with me. I pretty much avoided the Xbox, and the only reason I had a 360 was because my mom bought one because she wanted to try the Kinect,
Oh
and
yeah.
she only spent one day playing like Dance Central and the Black Eyed Peas experience because my mom loves the Black Eyed Peas, and then she never touched it again after that.
Oof.
She just completely forgot about it.
Wow. So yeah, Kinect was definitely not Xbox's Wii moment, was
Certainly-
it? They
certainly
tried.
Certainly didn't sell anyone on an Xbox, and couldn't convince anyone who did buy one for the
Well,
Kinect to
I don't know. The
actually
360
use
was
it
a
on
big
regular
console.
basis.
No, the Kinect was a flop, but I do think the 360 did really bloody well, especially here in the UK. It was probably the most popular console of that generation by far. You know, most people
Oh
had
yeah,
them.
yeah. The 360 killed it that generation.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever needed the Kinect. They just probably thought, well, maybe I know the
They were
Wii
going
was
after
the
that
best
Wii.
selling console of that generation. So
Yeah,
I'm
they
sure it
wanted a
makes
bit of
sense
that
at the time,
pie, but yeah.
It
they
was
wanted-
my understanding that the Kinect was just a big flop, though.
It pretty much was.
Yeah.
Like the fact that
The
you can
Kinect-
pick up most Kinect games for like 10p now.
Yeah.
From my experience, Kinect was absolute garbage. It never worked for anything other than dancing games, and
I
even then, it was
literally
kind
played
of
it
toss-up.
once. No, tell a lie. I played it twice. Once was sports around the mate's house, and it was like 10 minutes, and it was like, oh, okay, I'm jogging up and down on the spot. This is a bit crap. And the other time I played it was when I played that Star Wars experience at MZM.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so that wasn't good.
Ironically, the Kinect is actually much better for everything besides video games.
Yeah.
Like,
it
it's
is.
actually
Yeah,
it's actually been quite helpful in the medical industry for one thing.
I've
Mhm.
heard
And I
that.
think-
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
The
think that's where the
technology is
Kinect
good,
belongs,
it's just not good for
honestly.
casual
There-
games.
It's nice that it has a place in the world. You just-
Yeah.
Yeah.
not for video games. It needs to stay far away from video games.
It's up there with the shell to the Atari Jaguar. It's in the same ballpark as that, because now the Atari Jaguar is like the console design.
Yeah, the shell.
They use it for
the
dentistry
mold
stuff.
for the plastic molds for the console itself, the shell.
Mm.
They've been sold to a dental company to make. I forget exactly what this machine is, but
Mm.
it's made in a shell that looks exactly like an Atari Jaguar.
But
in that
So it lives
But
on
in
in a
that
different
case-
guise.
But in that case, those machines don't even need the Atari Jaguar shell specifically in order
I
to do what
suppose
they
not.
do.
No, I
At
suppose
least
that.
the Kinect
Yeah.
has a unique function.
Yeah, so in a way, that's a bit of an unfair comparison. Right, I guess we'll move
Sorry,
on.
Jaguar, you're not getting any praise today.
I guess I'll move on to. I guess we'll just do one more bit of news. So, the last film I saw in the cinema before the lockdown was Sonic the Hedgehog. I think it was actually the second time I went to see it. And as we all, we weren't doing podcasts around the time, so we never really got to talk about it on the podcast. But basically, they have announced a sequel. That's pretty much.
I mean, that was kind of not really news though, because like the end of the film very heavily hinted on there being the
That
second.
doesn't always
follow-up.
guarantee a sequel, though.
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. He ended with that, and then the sales. So
Yeah, exactly.
I think
So
it was already written.
what's quite
You know,
interesting is
This movie opens up to a sequel at the end, and it sold well. It's the highest grossing movie ever based on a video game. Yeah, we don't need to make a sequel to that.
Exactly. What I find kind of interesting is they've actually got the same director and the same writers as the previous one, which is kind of
Oh, cool.
unusual because usually sequels just get someone else because like usually the
Yeah.
other guys are. But like they've got everyone. They haven't mentioned cast yet, so we don't know anything about Jim Carrey and stuff. But let's be honest, he's gonna want to do that again. He said he really enjoyed doing it, which is the complete opposite of what happened with the Mario movie, where everyone hated it, and they literally went there. They literally went there drunk, like they were so fed up with it. Apparently Jim Carrey loved the role. He loved doing the whole thing. I can't see. It's probably It's probably the most successful film he's been in for ages. Like I can't see him not doing it.
And he usually never signs on to sequels. He immediately shuts down
That's true.
any potential of him appearing in a sequel to a movie that he's been part of. And this is the first time in decades since where before the movie even came out, he actually came out in interviews and said, "Yeah, I would love to be in a sequel if it happens."
I think it's pretty much the last time he did like a sequel was Ace Ventura.
Oh
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
no,
guess
there was a Dumb and Dumber sequel.
Oh, he was
It
in
wasn't
that,
the
wasn't
second
he?
one, but there was a third one where he did actually appear.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you know what? That wasn't that bad because
I
I
haven't
love the
seen it.
original. The original is one of
Yeah.
my favourite films of all time.
Brilliant.
But the sequel, although it wasn't, it had big boots to fill, it was actually all right. I thought it was okay. Not spectacular, but okay. It had its moments.
Yeah. So yeah, as you say, not really like mind-blowing news that they're making a sequel to a film that made loads of money, and technically it could have made a lot more. It's only because of the lockdown that it hasn't made more. Basically, it basically got cut off. Like, something really cool I saw on the news just the other day, just yesterday, I believe, was in Uruguay. Is that how you pronounce it?
Uruguay.
Uruguay. They had a airport that was shut down there. So what they ended up doing is turning it into a drive-through cinema. And when they had this news report about it, they were actually playing the Sonic movie at that time. I thought that was really cute. Like they're still showing it in some places, and I think Japan has just now announced their release date for it because they had to delay it because of all the shutdown stuff. They're basically releasing it as soon as cinemas reopen. I think at the end of July, I believe. So I guess they're doing similar to what we're doing, reopening sort of July time. So Japan's finally getting it, even though we've already got it coming out on Blu-ray now, I believe, this week or next week.
This week, yeah.
I've recently heard that drive-in theaters are still open in North America because people are staying away from each other because
of course they're in cars. Yeah, that's a good way of.
The Sonic movie's actually been showing in those theaters.
Yeah, so it's cool to see that it's still being shown around despite the Blu-ray coming out and all that. I'm just curious if anyone has any hopes for like what could be in the sequel, because I know the director did say that like this film was almost like a test, and it was actually kind of low budget until obviously they had to spend more money on the redesign. But he did say like if they have more money next time and more time and stuff like that, they really want to delve more into more characters, more about Sonic's world. They want to have less of, because they've kind of done the whole Sonic fish out of water on Earth, doing all that kind of stuff. They can't really repeat that. So I'm just curious what people want from this sequel, and I don't know if they've got any like hopes, or I don't know really.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I'm so surprised how good the first one was. I'm not saying I was expecting it to be a complete train wreck, but I was expecting it to be full of like all of these sort of like, how'd you put it, like sort of modern references, like really crowbarred in stuff. And what actually happened was I enjoyed the hell out of it, and it had like so little of that stuff that when it did happen, I didn't really care too much.
Yeah, it didn't really take you out of it too much.
Yeah, I was expecting so much of it. I was expecting loads of like, I don't know, silly pop culture references here, there, and everywhere. But apart from him flossing a couple of times,
he flossed twice. That's about it. Yeah.
And I was expecting like 10, 20 times more than that. So basically, if they could just sort of stick to the same restrained, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And, like, restrained from sort of that need to
Yes.
reference stuff like that just to try and appeal to the kids.
I mean, that's what a lot of people have been complaining about with that new Scooby-Doo movie. Literally within the first 10 minutes, Simon Cowell shows up. And he's like realistic. God. He's in a completely different art style to everyone else. He literally looks like he's been copy-pasted from a Shrek movie from 20 years ago. It's just like, what?
That's the kind of thing that winds me up.
Simon Cowell everywhere online.
Yes,
that was in the Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah, he shows up at the start and he's like, "Oh, you guys have to like split up because you don't work together."
I was so confused because Simon Cowell has not been relevant in years.
Exactly. It's like, oh, the kids remember Simon Cowell, right? It's like what is this, Shrek 2?
Like if they put Gordon Ramsay in the movie, it would still be stupid, but at least it would make sense.
So basically, from the sequel, I'd just like to see like more of that kind of, restraint and just more of the same feel of the first one. I thought they'd really done a good job with that. I was so. I shouldn't say surprised. What I should say is I'm just so happy how much I enjoyed that film.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, take it. If you just like take the fact that it's Sonic completely out of your brain and just look at it as a basic movie, it is quite standard. It does a lot of things that a lot of kids' films do. It has all the same beats in a lot of places. They kind of ham-fisting the little argument scene and all that kind of stuff. But when I first watched it, and it was in that part where he's just like running around and robotics shooting lasers and all that bit, I actually got a little bit emotional because I was just like, it's my boy. He's up there. He's on the big screen. It's actually all right. It's actually decent. Like, I was expecting a train wreck. I was expecting the plot to be garbage. I was expecting it to be complete garbage. Yeah. Even after the redesign, I thought, at least he looks good now, but it's still going to be shit. Like, they can't polish, they polished the design so it doesn't look horrendous. He actually looks all right now. But I was still expecting it to be trash because the trailers didn't really help. They just kept like...
That first trailer was a joke, wasn't it? All this gangster's paradise and all this crap that just didn't work.
Yeah. Being a Sonic fan is like being a beaten wife, Like, you keep going back, but they just keep punching you, And that trailer was just like, yep, they've done it again. All right. I like every time they do this, like when Sonic Boom got announced and they showed that first trailer of that bloody weird skeletal looking Sonic, I was just like, no, I don't know. He looked all lanky and had all the rap. It was just like some generic Ratchet and Clank clone. I was just like, yeah, this ain't for me. Sonic's not for me now. It's for some other kids. It's for some kids. It's not for, I'm not interested, and I'm glad I didn't show any interest. Yeah, the actual TV show was okay. Like, the writing was actually pretty good in that, but I still didn't really care for it. But like watching that Sonic movie, I think the thing I liked most about it is Sonic's characterization. Like, I think that might be the best characterization he's ever had because there's not really much of a tentpole, like there's not much to go on. You've got like the first time Sonic talked, he was like, "Oh yeah, this is happening." It's like, you haven't got that much nuance to the character to really go by, have you? Most of like all the retro games, it's like you inject what you think Sonic's like because he doesn't talk or anything, so you just kind of like add. You're filling in the blanks with your imagination. So, a classic Sonic can be as cool as you want him to be. He can be as cute as you want him to be, whatever. Modern Sonic, they just tried to shoehorn in every weird fad they can think of, and some of it didn't work at all, and it's just awkward and weird to look at. And I just feel like, even a lot of the plot points in this film were pretty standard kids stuff. It was still
they played it safe.
Way better than Sonic's ever had before. Like the scene where he's playing baseball with himself, and he's just like, I'm alone, and he starts running. I thought that was brilliant. I was really shocked how good, like how much range of emotions Sonic had. It's like the first time he's ever had emotions. Outside of just like, I don't care, whatever. Like,
I'm cool.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, but they actually got the emotions down really well. They're very realistic. So
Yeah.
like that scene you were talking about, where they emphasize that Sonic is very lonely. So when he gets that home run, and then all of a sudden he realizes, oh yeah, no one's here to actually see what I did.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, Louise. Oh man,
That scene
actually
did kind of get me. I was like,
that's actually what loneliness and depression really is like. You're not just feeling that way all the time. You try to pick yourself up, and then something happens that reminds you of your situation, and then it all of a sudden hits you like a truck. That's how it really is.
Yeah.
And
I guess for me, from the sequel, I would like. I mean, obviously, Tails is going to be in it. They've hinted at that. They've got the model there. It's all set up. I think the way the plot has it is like Tails hasn't actually met Sonic yet. He's heard of him in Legends, or like he's heard of him in like passing in some way. Like because obviously Sonic ended up on Earth as a child in this canon, I suppose.
Yeah,
so Sonic is technically he's lived on Earth and probably 95% of his life or whatever. But I kind of hope they don't ham-fist too much fan service into the sequel. Like I'll be cool with Tails, I'll be cool with Knuckles and his tribe coming back in some fashion. I'd be really cool with Jim Carrey turning more Robotnik, like he did at the end of the film, where his moustache had popped out, and you could even hear his voice was starting to get a bit crazier, and he started to sound almost a little bit like how Mike Pollock does Robotnik. He was starting to get really like really frustrated. I kind of wish they showed. The only thing about the film that I kind of wish they did more with was just Sonic winding up Robotnik so much that he literally just pulls his hair out at that point. But instead he just sort of like shaved it off while he was in the Mushroom Planet. It was just kind of there.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted them to just slowly show him going mad. I mean, they kind of did it, but I feel like they could have done it more. They could have really like pushed it. Like this alien is annoying him so much that he just goes mental, and he kind of shows signs of that, but I do really like that whole thing where he's stuck on that planet. He's got the backpack and he's got all the scrap stuff, and he's like, "I'll be back by Christmas." It's just like he's so confident that he can get out of this situation.
Yeah,
I like
Yeah,
go on.
And that's why I really love Jim Carrey as Robotnik, because he actually understands the character a lot more than most people thought he did.
No, when they first showed Robotnik, I was like, "What is this? Like, this isn't Robotnik. Who's this weird?" Yeah, they didn't even put him in a fat suit, It's like, what are you doing?
They were basically just judging him by looks. This is why they say don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah. Usually when they do that kind of stuff in movie adaptations of stuff, it's terrible. But for some reason, it just worked here. Like because they justified it. They slowly showed him by the end of the film, his moustache was like all puffed out, and he was starting to look more like actual Robotnik. So it made sense. He wouldn't be a crazy nutcase at first, because he was just like a scientist that worked for the military or whatever it was. Like a bizarre thing where it was like, oh, he did a coup in Afghanistan or something. It was like, what? That scene was weird. I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Then
even then he's not perfect, because he builds himself up like he's the biggest deal in the world, and every chance he gets, he talks to people like, "I'm better than you. I've always been better than you." And you better
also,
just
I was
accept
bullied.
And then eventually that attitude just kind of builds up, and his idea of himself just gets crazier and crazier, and it starts showing in his attitude.
Yeah, and he starts becoming what you expect Robotnik to be, because out of all the characters in previous games and cartoons and all that kind of stuff, I would say most of the characters have got really basic character traits. Like, they're very simple, but Robotnik's always been the best one. He's always had Adventures Robotnik, even Sonic Boom Sonic. They've all got brilliant traits to them, and they've all got great character. He's always been. I think Robotnik's always been the best character in Sonic. Like, he's always.
He's my hands down favorite character in the series.
Yeah, he's always had
He was easily the best character in the series throughout the 2010s.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. I'm just glad to see that. I kind of just want to see I want to see Jim Carrey go off the rails in the sequel. I really want to see him just be like a what's the word? Maniacal laughing and just like mad moustache.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Jim
or
Carrey could
whatever.
do that very
Oh,
well, and
I
I'd
want
really
him.
like to see him. I'd really like to see him inject more of his own ideas into the character.
Oh yes,
'Cause,
because
like,
he
that
did a
thing
good
at the
job
end
in the
where-
first one.
Like that thing at the end where he starts walking around like a robot, like that was his idea.
Yeah, he was just like improvising with a lot of it, and yeah.
I heard about that scene where he starts dancing around in the van.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently that was all him as well.
I think even the choice of music was his idea as well, which was a bloody good choice of music, by the way.
It was well. I keep imagining it as like the Nathan Barnett Robotnik
Yes.
dance bit.
Yes.
Yes, that would be good. Yeah, I guess for me, don't go overboard with the fan service. You don't have to squeeze everything into this. Don't start chucking in, like, for the second film, keep it focused on Tails showing up, maybe Knuckles and the tribe are, like, working with Robotnik on the Mushroom Planet and they find their way back to Earth because they've both got a common goal. They're both hunting down Sonic. Have some more backstory involving the owl mother, whatever her name was. I feel like that stuff was way too brief. Like, literally the first... When I went to see that film, we actually got in a bit late, didn't we, the first time?
Yeah.
And I missed the first 5 minutes. When I walked into the cinema, I was just like, the Sonic title come up, and I was like, oh, I probably haven't missed much. And I was like, wait, where's all that stuff with the baby Sonic? Is that already finished? And I was like, oh, we must have missed a load of it. And so, because obviously I work in the cinema, I can get free tickets. We watched the whole film, and I was like, wait, there was a whole intro bit I completely missed. Let's get some more tickets and just come back in for 10 minutes. So I literally went into the same screen, the next screening in the same screen, and just watched the beginning and was like, right, here's all the origin stuff. Oh, it's finished already. It's like 3 minutes. It's like, that's not... You're showing all this cool stuff like with the echidnas and stuff, and it's just like done. They obviously didn't have the budget to be in that Green Hill Zone looking place the whole time, South Island and that. So I'd like to see more of that as well, like the original world, and if they could do more of that kind of stuff, and maybe even make the film like a reverse of this one, where instead of Sonic being the fish out of water on Earth, it's like the human characters being chucked onto his world. And like seeing how they handle that, I think that would be kind of interesting. Obviously, that would make the film almost completely different in some ways, but yeah, don't go overboard with the characters. Don't chuck in Amy and Shadow and Silver and all this kind of stuff. If you're going to do stuff like that, wait till there's like maybe more films. If you're going to do more films, then go into the deeper stuff. But for now, just keep it Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik. That's all you need. Yeah, even you could even cut Knuckles out and keep him for the third film, because let's be honest, if they make a film called Sonic 3 and Knuckles, that would be just
now
I totally up for that. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, just the movie. And like, some people were like, oh, they should put in the Death Egg, they should put in Super Sonic, they should put in the Chaos Emeralds. And it's like, they can do that if they want, but I don't think it would really make a huge difference either way. If anything, they might clutter the film too much with fan service like that. So I'm actually fine with them holding back on stuff like that and maybe stretching it out. Like, if they feel like they're going to make a third film eventually, then maybe hold some of it back for that and not try to squeeze too much into this film. Because a lot of films, like when they get sequels, like for example, the last Godzilla movie that came out, the Hollywood one, the first one had so little Godzilla in it, he literally didn't show up for like the first hour and a half, and then he showed up for like 5 minutes. So with the sequel, they're like, right, let's put all the monsters in. Let's just put everything in there. Let's put as much fan service in as possible. And it was a damn good movie. I really enjoyed it. But a lot of people were like, that's too much. It's like, well, you asked for it. You asked for all these monsters. They gave you them all. And now you're saying it's too much. It's like, well, it can be, like sometimes they listen to their fans and they go, oh, right, we need to put all this stuff in it. But then that just muddies the plot, and it will just like make the thing a bit too much. And then like casual fans might watch it and go, yeah, this is a bit too much in this one. It's like, I kind of want to see them. I want to keep. I kind of hope they don't take out, like the depth to Sonic's character that he has in this. I don't want him to just become what he is in the games, where he doesn't really have much character half the time. Like, I feel like the writing in most of the recent games have been incredibly basic. Like, they just like sub-level, just like, oh, I got to defeat Robotnik and that's it. And it's just like, I mean, like again, Sega are just taking too much. Sometimes they're taking feedback from fans the wrong way and going, oh, no one likes Sonic's friends. Let's just make the games you only play as Sonic the whole time. It's like, no, that's not what they're saying. They're saying the extra characters you put in the games have got really shit gameplay. So think about the characters. Don't just... If you put the characters in the game as extra playable characters, but they play well, then people are going to like them, but they don't. They're just like rushed out and just crap. So...
Yeah.
I don't know. I could go on about this all night, so I won't.
I agree.
I'm just happy.
Well,
I'm happy they're making a sequel.
I pretty much agree with most of what you've been saying. Yeah, like, let's not go overboard with the sequel. But yeah, I think that's spot on. Really, you can overdo it very easily.
Yeah, like, don't throw in the death egg and all that kind of stuff. I feel like might be a bit much.
Yeah.
At the same time, of course, I just want to add that my biggest hope for the sequel is that, and I'm sure they're going to do this because most of the same people working on the first movie are back. They shouldn't cram in as much Sonic lore as they can, like you said, but they should keep listening to fans.
I mean, it worked this time, didn't it? It worked for the first one.
It did, and I feel like the Sonic movie could. That's why I feel like this is going to be very revolutionary in the world of cinema, because most movie studios they have the same they have the opposite issue with fans that Sega has, where they usually don't care what they think. They have their own vision and they stick with it no matter what the fans usually think.
Yeah.
And it usually never ends well, but they're just too stubborn. That's what... And Paramount has been through that same song and dance before with like the Transformers movies and the Ninja Turtles movies. But with this time, they listened to fans when they complained about the way Sonic looked. So they made Sonic actually look like Sonic. And then what do you know? Fans actually voted with their wallets.
Yep, it totally bounced back and worked. Apparently it cost them an estimated extra 80. I think it was like what was it?
I think it was like
an extra 10 million or something like that.
$5 million.
Something like that. It wasn't huge, but it was like an extra lot. But basically, if they didn't do that, they probably wouldn't have made as much money as they did. So
yeah,
it probably still would have done okay, but
Yeah, but compared to Birds of Prey, which I realize that it's stupid to pit Birds of Prey and the Sonic movie together like they're competing, but people already did it, so I might as well. Birds of Prey, I don't know how accurate it is to the comics, but most of the marketing for Birds of Prey was they had their own vision where they wanted to make this a sort of feminist movie where it has this whole political message, and they were essentially telling people, if you're not watching this movie or if you don't like it, that probably means you're a misogynist and you should feel bad. And what do you know? People didn't watch the movie in the end, and it certainly wasn't because they don't like women. But
probably because they've been talked down to.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. That's the thing. And PETA shows this all the time whenever they complain about a video game, like Animal Crossing. You can't shame people
complained
into
again.
doing.
Yeah, really?
PETA complains about the museum being cruel to animals.
They're not real animals.
Yeah.
Go after actual animal cruelty, not fictional animal cruelty, like fishing in a fictional game.
But
I never bring up PETA on this stream because they're not worth talking about. They're not worth giving attention. They're not worth. Their name is not even worth uttering because they're that pathetic.
Yeah, but my point is that you cannot shame people into taking your side or to checking out whatever it is you made. This is PETA's problem that they never learn from. And this
Mhm.
is the same problem the movie industry usually has.
Mhm.
And
They
I'm
just go, "Oh, it's
hoping
my
now
way."
and I'm hoping now that Sonic the Hedgehog will be able to show the movie industry that they really should take fans seriously.
Hmm.
Yeah, that would be
And of
Most
course,
of
I
the
hope that
time.
they
Sometimes.
continue, and I hope they continue to do that with the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, of course.
As long as like, because I know what Sonic fans are like. As soon as you give them any kind of power, they're like, "Oh, right now I can just give you this whole laundry list of things that you should do." Maybe not listen to everything they say, because they'll be like, "Oh, Sally Acorn's going to be in it, and she's going to make out with Sonic, and then they're going to have 7 children, and then Chris Chad's going to show up for the lols and to be edgy, and then it's just like, yeah, don't."
So yeah, they gotta find that perfect balance, like Thanos says.
I mean,
He was right when he said everything should be perfectly balanced.
I think they did a really good job with the choice of director, because basically they got a guy that he actually worked on Sonic stuff before the Sonic movie. You know, he created Blur Studios, who worked on cutscenes for stuff like, funnily enough, Sonic 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog. So he knows Sonic. He pretty damn well, and I feel like something weird happened that made that design happen. I think they just had this idea in their head that he has to be realistic, like, because that's what other films in the past have done. The Smurfs did it, Transformers did it. They have to look different. They have to be this. They have to be grounded within the reality of the thing. They just feel like that's a thing that had to be done because that's what's worked so many times before. Alvin and the Chipmunks is
didn't work for cats though, did it?
Yeah.
The last year has been a quantum shift in how movies are made. I think movies are the way they're made are gonna be so different after those both Sonic and Cats happened. And I think there's actually going to be a bit of a shift in people's perception of realism in films as well, like animated characters, after what happened with like Lion King. Obviously, it was a massive selling film, so they're going to keep making stuff like that. But at the same time, so many people were like, "This, it's realistic and it looks impressive, but it's so boring and so unemotive." And I feel like things are slowly swinging back. Like people are actually starting to kick back on the whole, "Oh, everything has to be super realistic," you know. I feel like it's kind of swinging back the other way a little bit in some ways. Like their justification for the realistic Sonic design was like, we don't want him to just look like a cartoon character plonked on Earth. Whereas really, that was what people want. Like, I don't think anyone I think they found the right balance with Sonic's design in that, where he still has like realistic touches, but he still looks like Sonic, you know. And even like the fact that his eyes are split, that's almost, in that context, it's an improvement. I think if he had one big eye in that film, it would have been strange. But the way they did it was subtle enough that I think it worked perfectly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll stop rambling about Sonic the Hedgehog, because that could, any excuse to talk about Sonic is just going to be me rambling for ages. So I'm going to stop. Right. So we'll move on for the news, because there isn't a lot. I guess this is semi-related, but there's been loads of photos going about at the moment about the construction of Nintendo World at Universal Studios in Osaka.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anyone here has seen the like aerial photos and stuff, but oh man, it looks amazing. Like, it literally looks like a giant diorama of a Mario level. Like,
I have not seen it yet. I'm gonna look at it right now.
There's some really good like aerial photos that sort of give you a good detail of what it's going to look like. It just looks like you're walking into like a modern Mario game. Like, there's all the hills, there's like a desert corner, there's an ice corner, there's a big Bowser castle. When you go, the entrance is literally a giant green tube. You go inside and you come out the other end of the tube, and like Peach's castle's right there.
Wow.
It sounds and looks incredible. Like, unfortunately, they haven't got tons of space for it. So apparently, the one that's going to be in Florida is going to be a lot bigger. It's actually going to have like a Donkey Kong Country section as well.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. So I just had a random idea this morning because I was thinking about this. I was just like, what would our dream video game related theme park attractions be? Don't have to be Nintendo, don't have to be anything to do with this Nintendo world, just in general. Like take a video game and try to apply it to like a ride or like a show or something, and yeah, something that would be in a theme park. What would you love to see?
I came up with a couple.
Okay, go on.
All right, so number one is, you know those kind of rides where you get dropped really fast from a huge height?
Oh,
You know
yes.
those
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of things?
Hmm.
Well, how about one of those where you're facing the ground? And it's an
Okay.
Assassin's Creed leap of faith. So
Ooh,
on the ground, there's
that's
like loads
a
of
good idea.
straw. You don't actually go into the straw. Like, obviously, the ride will stop before you hit the ground. But yeah, it's just like plummeting towards a load of straw.
I've got a really obscure variant of that no one will care for, but I just think it would be funny.
Okay.
The same ride, but it's themed on Jumping Flash.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh,
That would work.
Only
Our
I
minds-
would be
our
like,
minds
yay!
Our minds went to similar places then. And the other one is your typical kind of haunted house thing, but I wanted it to be like a Silent Hills PT thing. So not only is it full of creepy stuff, but it's also like got loads and loads of copies of the same corridor. So you're just like, where is the end?
Oh, that would
You know,
be so clever.
It loops around about 10 times. You're sick of it by the end.
Yeah, like a Silent Hill spooky, like, you know, like one of those like escape room kind of things, but like a haunted place. That would be amazing. Yeah, Silent
That'd be
Hill.
great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
for that.
So those
Or-
are my.
Never go in it.
Or
Scary
Resident
cat.
Evil, actually. I'm
I-
surprised they haven't done a
Yeah.
Resident Evil one. I think there has been like sort of stuff like that in Japan. I think there was like
Yeah.
a Resident Evil thing at like Sega Geopolis at one point, but I don't think it was like a massive.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it was just like a little like VR thing, I think. But
Oh yeah, that might have happened.
Well, those are my two suggestions.
oh, okay. I've got one. It's not necessarily like. Well, this is just like a kind of ridiculous idea. This could even be something they could do in Nintendo World, and this would be like really high tech, like probably something that's not even technically possible right now, but maybe in a few years' time. So, what if you took laser tag, but it was Splatoon, and all the walls were screens, so everything you shoot becomes paint on the walls, including on you. Like if you shoot someone, the paint appears on them. Like it's like some kind of. Like, obviously, you could easily just do this with VR, but I think it would be better if everything was screen-based, and you're in this big arena that looks just like a Splatoon one, and you're actually running around trying to paint everything.
I'd say that's a bloody good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I feel like, you know, because the matches are only like 2 minutes as well, so it'd be a nice quick, you know, you get in, set up with the light gun or whatever it is, the laser tag guns, and you get 2 minutes to just paint as much as you can, and I don't know, find some other ways to implement like like the grenade, like water balloons, and like different special weapons that it can just do more damage and stuff like that. I don't know how
Then
you
are you
do.
gonna- But then how are you gonna get up to high places? Because you can't exactly swim through ink.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, obviously it wouldn't be the full Splatoon experience. You wouldn't be able to literally turn into a squid and fly through all the stuff. But like, make it so you can, I don't know, like a basic version of the gist of Splatoon. You know, I just think that would be kind of
exact. Yeah.
exactly. I just think like having this big arena that you can run around and just like spray paint everywhere. It's not real paint, but they somehow track it all. And then at the end, it will tally whose team did best. I think that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that could work.
I love that idea.
I
so
guess
much.
the only other one would be obvious is why haven't they made a good Sonic roller coaster yet? What the hell? Like, there was one Sonic roller coaster, and it wasn't really Sonic at all. It was just vaguely themed at Alton Towers. They had that ride called Sonic Spinball for a short while. And it was basically just a reskin of a ride they already had there. And then a couple of years later, they've reskinned it back to what it was. I think it was like Pinball Wizard
Ah,
or or something like that. All it was just a basic roller coaster that sort of like rotates a bit. It wasn't really anything special. The only thing I really liked about that attraction is when you were queuing up, it was playing Station Square music from Sonic Adventure. I was like, oh,
nice.
this is really cool. That was really nice. Like, they were just playing, like, yeah, the I thought that was really cute. But
that is cool. That
was really cool. But otherwise, the ride was just really basic. But, like, obviously, the easiest way to make a Sonic roller coaster would to just make it VR and you just go into the headset and you see Green Hill all around you. But I would actually prefer to see a physical giant Green Hill with all the loops and the corkscrews and stuff, like actually themed with physical items, kind of like what they're doing there for the Nintendo World, where it looks like a living Mario level. I'd like to see that with Sonic, but as a really ridiculous roller coaster. Maybe not necessarily Green Hill, maybe like, I don't know, Speed Highway or something from Sonic Adventure, where you've got all those crazy corkscrews and stuff, and just make it have like maybe find a way to make it so there's some kind of interactive element. I think that's what they're doing with Mario Kart, because there's going to be a Mario Kart attraction at Nintendo World, and in some way it's going to be interactive. Like, it's technically like a sort of coaster, like you get in a car and you go, it's on rails, but at the same time, I think you're going to be able to control your speed and actually attack people with weapons and stuff. I really see how that's going to work. But I'm trying to think, is there a way you could do that with a roller coaster where there's like 2 lanes and you could change lanes and collect rings? I don't think that's physically possible or even legal, but, I think that's probably just like a bad idea, but I don't know. I just think like taking a roller coaster but somehow making it so there's multiple routes that you can choose, and it's like you choose this route and there's more rings but it's scarier or something, like you pull a lever and you go the other way and it changes route and you go down like the more treacherous, like more loopy place, but you get more points for it or something. I don't know.
You know what they could do? And Universal's had rides like this for a long time with different themes. So, like, they have a Spider-Man one. They've done ones in the past based on Back to the Future, Nicktoons, even The Simpsons, of all things. They could have a theatrical type of roller coaster where it doesn't move, but it gives off the feeling of motion. Where they put you in a car, they have you right alongside the main characters. Some villain comes to try and mess up the ride, and you just ride through the whole thing while the main characters try to keep you safe from danger. That would work perfectly for Sonic.
Yeah, that could work. I think that's not a bad idea.
Let's say like Tails makes a special car that allows you to travel around at Sonic speed, and Tails is controlling the car for you.
So I've been on that Spider-Man ride, and I can tell you that's already a good idea, because the way that ride works is it's basically a dark ride. You're in a multi-person thing, and it does actually move around. It's not just a screen in your face. You are actually moving from scene to scene, and sometimes it does actually feel like you're falling in parts, and there's all kinds of like clever effects. I think that would be cool, but I still feel like to really get the feeling of being Sonic, I think a roller coaster is the only way you could do it. Like a really high octane roller coaster, because you look at Sonic levels and you think that's a roller coaster. You're basically playing a roller coaster platformer.
It makes sense. I mean, if you're going at Sonic speed, you're going a lot faster than the DeLorean would in the Back to the Future ride, or whatever you were riding in the Simpsons ride.
I do like that idea, though. I think that could work too. Like, if there was some way you could have it so you're in this vehicle and then like Sonic's jumping in front of it and like attacking Robotnik in front of you, and all the effects are going off and explosions and stuff like that. I think that'd be cool. Yeah, that could work too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you got any?
I'm sort of looking around about if there anything else has ever happened about, say, about 5 years ago. There were rumblings around saying that Ubisoft were planning to build like a theme park, based around Assassin's Creed Rabbids in Malaysia.
All right.
So it was almost Assassin's Creed rides, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But Since then, I don't think it's gone through. Basically,
Right.
I have a feeling because
Do they have any like news on there of like what the rides would have been like? I know there was like a sort of VR coaster for rabbits. That was
Oh,
like
yeah.
travel in time kind of themed. What was the Assassin's Creed one? That was. Did they have anything, or did they not have like actual plans for that yet?
I don't. Yeah, it was kind of vague what plans they did have.
Yeah, that's a shame. I think there is actually another Sonic themed roller coaster in Japan, and they used to have it in Dubai as well when they had that park called Sega Republic that my parents went to once, and it was actually the coaster was actually just called Eggman, and it was like I think they still have it in Sega Geopolis, so I'm looking forward to trying it there, and it's an indoor roller coaster where it's like Robotnik's hacked the coaster, and I think it does have like an interactive element in that actually. So now I think about it, I think my idea is basically just a bigger version of that, because I think that ride does that. It has like choices. It's got like buttons on the front of the coaster, so you can actually like choose what way to go and stuff. So now I think about it, I think it's technically been done. I just want that bit bigger. I suppose when I actually go to Sega Geopolis, hopefully I get to go there and actually try that ride and see if it is basically what my idea is, but I'm only going by what I've seen online.
That does sound really cool, though.
There was actually a Rabbids ride in a French theme park called Futuroscope.
Oh yeah, that time
And that
machine
was like
thing.
a sort of VR 3D ride.
I feel like VR's a bit of a cop out. Like I feel like that makes it too easy. Like you could just take any game and go, right, make a roller coaster, but you put a VR headset on and you're in that game. That's easy. Anyone can do that. And I feel like when I go on a roller coaster, I don't want to put a headset on and not see where I'm going. I'd rather see where I'm going. I don't really have a fear of heights, but at the same time, I'm still like shitting myself when it climbs really high and stuff. But like when you're actually flying around on a roller coaster, I love seeing all the bloody scenery around me, just going mad. So that's why I'd rather have a roller coaster that's themed really nicely instead of just I'll put a VR headset. Because they tried that in Alton Towers. There's a ride there that was called Air. You know that roller coaster where you just sort of like it's like one where you almost feel like you're flying because the way you're like held in, you're basically like you feel like you're flying around. Basically, they rebranded that ride a few years ago into sort of like a space theme, and they basically added VR headsets to it, and people didn't like it as much. And then eventually, they just took the VR away from it again and just left it as it originally was. It was better because the thing with Alton Towers as well is it's in the middle of a beautiful manor, and you've got all the trees and all the forest and all that. So when you're on this ride flying around, it's like you're flying through the trees and stuff. It's bloody awesome. And to put in VR on that just spoils it. Like it was just like all this 3D of like planets and stuff. It's like lame. I feel like VR's a cop out, is all I'm saying. And
I can see what you mean.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like just having a bunch of screens everywhere. I think that's the issue with Universal parks. Is like the last time we went to Universal, like every ride almost feels the same because they've all just got the same technology. There's literally in Florida, they've got that Spider-Man attraction, which is fantastic, and then you go into the other Universal park and there's a Transformers ride. That is a literal carbon copy. It's the exact same ride, just with a Transformers skin. It's like it's literally like a mile away from the other attraction. It's the same bloody thing, and you're like, what are you doing?
Well, I imagine it's a cost-cutting measure because they have to change these to whatever license is the flavor of the month.
That's the thing. It hasn't replaced the Spider-Man ride. Usually, when they do like a reskin of a ride, it's replacing the previous one. Like they used to have that Hanna-Barbera one, which changed into a Jimmy Neutron ride, and then it changed into a Minion ride, and it's they just swapped it out each time.
Exactly.
But this is two separate rides in the same place that are exactly the same.
I think the Transformers ride is also an evolution of that same ride, because I went there years ago when it was still the Nicktoons ride led by Jimmy Neutron.
Yes.
And then
I've
when
actually
I
been
went
there all 3 times. It's changed.
And then when I went there about a decade later, when it was the Transformers ride, I realized immediately that it was in the exact same spot as the Nicktoons ride.
Yeah.
And it's the
So,
same thing with the Back to the Future ride. They turned that into the Simpsons ride.
So did you actually have like a dream one, Stacey, that you'd love to see?
Oh, I've got a lot, but it would be, I don't know. Let's just say that you know, there's more chance of like getting hit by an asteroid than ever seeing a any kind of like Rayman themed attractions.
What kind of thing do you think would work with Rayman? Like, what kind of attraction do you think would suit it?
Some kind of swingy ride thing.
Okay.
No, like swinging on like a purple lum.
Oh, that'd be cute. Have you got
I
any?
think if they were to do that, their best bet would be to make something like the music-based levels from Rayman Legends.
Oh, maybe as well.
I think that would, if they were to do something like that, that'd be the perfect way to contextualize the whole ride. Plus, it's my favorite part. One of my favorite parts of that game. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of most of the songs they use, they just present it really well.
Do you have any dream ones, Andrew?
I have this sort of idea of, the TV game show Total Wipeout or Wipeout, whichever one it's called.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Imagine that if you mix it with Donkey Kong.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
So
that's...
you actually go up like some...
Like you actually have to climb the ladders and avoid the barrels. And...
Yeah, I know it's a bit physical, but...
a bit physical. You get up to the top and you get knocked off by a barrel and fall away into the water. That's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
I can imagine that, though. I'm surprised like some Japanese game show hasn't already done this. Like just had a creation of Donkey Kong and made it to physically do it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. In fact, you could do that with almost any game from that era. You could do it with Pitfall. You could do it with Q*bert.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I did. Donkey Kong would make sense though, because that's like an iconic layout. Everyone knows what the Donkey Kong layout is.
The first choice to do something like that should obviously be Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong's one of the most famous examples of a game from that period. That one's one of the most ingrained into pop culture. Everyone's going to recognize Donkey Kong.
Everyone knows that level, Everyone knows what it looks like.
Exactly. But yeah, if that's successful, then do it with a bunch of other famous games from that time period.
Oh, I just thought of another one, and it's really silly. But what if you made a giant game of Pac-Man, and you either go into the attraction as Pac-Man or as a ghost, and you just have to run around trying to catch each other. and it's just got really loud Championship Edition Deluxe music booming the whole time. It's just like a nightclub. It's just like you're just running around collecting the dots and stuff.
I would totally love that. Yeah,
I would too. I'd go there every week. So I think we all got pretty good ideas there. Some may be more dangerous than others.
Not me.
I only have one idea that I could think of.
Okay.
And I thought of maybe turning Super Monkey Ball into an attraction.
Whoa.
All right, just hear me out, all right? You ever seen
I'm already
Jurassic
intrigued.
You ever seen Jurassic World? Remember those orb vehicles?
Oh yes.
That people would ride into the dinosaur areas?
Ah. Okay,
Yeah,
I see where you're going.
Yeah, so imagine
that technology.
So imagine they put people into a vehicle like those, if they can actually make one, because this is still just a movie. If they can make one, and then they put people into a monkey ball style maze, and they have them control the vehicle to try and get themselves to the goal.
And if they fall off, well, they fall 100 feet into the floor.
I imagine it's going to be
fall out
off so people can't actually fall.
I like the idea of a huge scale like tilting puzzle though. That'd be.
Yeah, the whole place would tilt, so they gotta
That sounds cool.
they gotta finagle themselves all the way to the end within
That
the time.
sounds rad. Yeah, I think there is a way you could make that work. It would be insane, but I can see that working actually. Like, that would be pretty rad.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the only thing I could think of, but
It's
I
pretty
really
good.
don't think even if I had thought of something else, I don't think it would be as cool as that. Because otherwise, it's just gonna be like make something into VR, and like you said,
that's just easy. That's an easy cop out.
You could do anything and just make it a VR game.
Yeah. This is just like a random thing that's tangentially related, and it's also like Sega. But back in like I think it was the early 90s, at one point Sega had this attraction in Japan that I really wanted to bring back and revise. It was basically a giant game of radio controlled cars, like a full track with massive radio controlled cars, and they had cameras on them, and you had an arcade cabinet you sat in and just played the racing game with the camera of that radio controlled car, and everyone is watching this radio controlled car go around this real course while the person on the arcade machine is watching it from the camera. This was in the late 80s or the early 90s. The technology was way too primitive to do that, but if they did that now, oh my god, how cool. Look up videos of it. I'm trying to find what it was called.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I saw this. Yeah, I watched this video a few months ago and it blew my brain. I was like, how is this not a thing now? How can I not go and do this somewhere? This is the coolest thing anyone has ever done. It was just like, it's so, when you see like because like, obviously they've had to have like wireless cameras inside the radio controlled cars that can connect to the arcade cabinet, and when you look at the picture quality on the arcade cabinet where the guy's playing it, like the picture's like breaking all the time because like any little bump in the road or if it hits a wall, like the camera's like cutting out and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, do that with today's technology and you've got a frigging cool attraction. Like, just do that again. But theme it around, I don't know, Daytona or Power Drift or any of those games. Just have like a miniature version of Daytona USA that you control with cameras and everyone spectating, watching the cars go around.
Yeah.
What was that thing called? Really cool. I really want to know what it was called now.
I wish I remembered what it was called, but I have seen this before.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it is. That it? That's it there. What's it called? Yeah, let's have a look. I found a blog about it. I just quickly want to see the name of it because I don't want to mention this and just be like, oh, what is it? Right, hang on, sorry. So it actually used Sega Rally arcade cabinets. So it must be mid-90s then. Or is this something else? Oh no, wait, sorry, this is something else entirely. Never mind. Someone actually tried to recreate this idea with a Sega Rally cabinet. That's rad. Someone actually tried to recreate it with radio controlled cars. Does anyone remember that Outrun arcade cabinet that someone modified into an actual functioning car?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember that.
1, that's amazing. 2, he's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Because it had like a track, it had like some thing on it where it showed a game of Outrun, but it was actually like using a camera to recreate the road in front of him in Outrun style or something. And it's like, that's a cool idea, but also keep your eyes around the screen. Don't look at that screen. You're going to hit something.
I mean, it worked well enough for Rio and the PC version of Sonic and All Stars Racing Transformed.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, he was alright. He lived. Why don't we just do that in real life? So yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap up. Actually,
Yeah.
Just talking silly nonsense now, but it was fun. It was all fun. I really want to find the name of that thing because it's annoying me now. It's kind of hard to find because it's like, how do you Google this? It's like Sega radio control car arcade thing. What is it called? I don't know. But yeah,
I'm sure if you find it, you'll
Wrap this
probably
up.
tell people about it next week.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, I guess I could do that.
Cool.
Ah, is that it? It was from 1989. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, found it. Right. What was it bloody called? Oh, well, you got to see the track as well. It's got this giant lit up Sega logo. It's so freaking cool. I'm probably gonna put a link to it in the description of this. It was called Sega Super Circuit. There you go. It's a pretty generic name, but yeah, that's
almost as generic as like Sega Rally. Or
yeah, I guess. But like for what this thing is and how mad it is, giving it a name that generic is kind of. But yeah, I'm gonna put a link to the YouTube video of it because someone just unearthed like a home video of it, and it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. 1989, Sega were bonkers. if this news on Thursday from Sega is something as bonkers as that, I'll be quite happy. But I suspect it won't be. So yeah, I've been the Gagaman.
I've been Cherry Terrier.
I've been Murry Curry.
I've been Hunk Thunder.
I've been Elk, and I just remembered the name of that Wolfenstein game I talked about at the beginning of the podcast.
Oh yeah,
it's Wolfenstein: The New Order.
That's the
Ah.
one. That's the bugger. Today is a podcast where we try to remember things and then eventually remember them.
And then eventually we remember to actually Google it.
Yeah. Right, so that's been the 73rd podcast. We will be back next Monday. Same lucky hit time, same lucky hit channel. Yep. We will see you next week. See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good week, everyone.
See you
Bye,
later.
y'all.